Hey everybody, welcome to Twisted Tragedies, where we follow all the twists and turns wherever they lead. I am your host, Elise, and today is Thursday. There's no court today, as you guys know. Hold on a second, let me fix the bubble. Bubble. I got my coffee. That's a good thing. Hold on. Where's the bubble here? Hello, bubble. Okay, it's fixed. I fixed the bubble. All right. So, two things right off the very beginning of our show. Sidebar free today, right? It is sidebar free today, but we have something super awesome. Hold on, let me see if I can get it. Let's see here. A new clip. A new clip. Let's see. This one is it. I think I gotta hit the download button on it first. Hold on. What is happening? It's not doing it. God damn it. Hello, McFly. All right, let's see. See if this one plays it. Hold on. Hold on. Oh, this is not the right one. For the love of God. Hold on. We want to play the right one here. I want to make sure that we get the right one. Because it's good. It's pretty good. It's a pretty good clip. Here we go. This one I don't think has the music, so we want the other one that does have the music. We want the one with the music. Here we go. We have a zoomed in version of it. So let me get this down to the share level here. MP4. I love how it takes forever to download something onto a computer when you're trying to like put it in your thing here. Good morning, everybody. So as we know, there's no court today. You guys know this, right? So we're going to go over a couple things that happened this week. We didn't see too much of, and I got a couple things I got to tell you guys. We didn't see too much of when it came to witnesses, expert witnesses, because let's see if I can open this. Let's see. We're going to play this when people say stupid stuff. Ready? We got to add music to it, but that is Peggy, Mrs. O'Keefe. And I don't freaking blame her because I would be freaking pissed the hell off, right? If I was her to have to deal with this bullshitaki that she's going through currently when it comes to dealing with these people. She's a good sport, you know? Like, oh, thank you, Jesse. So we have some good / neutral news, okay? Hold on. Let me fix this real quick. Sorry, guys. The camera's like a little bit sideways and like, I don't know what's happening. It won't stay still, God damn it. First and foremost, I got an email last night, okay? I got an email last night from YouTube. Now let me explain. I checking my emails last night because I was going to bed early. I had a stomach ache. I was tired. I still got a little bit of stomach ache, but I was checking my emails as I always do because I try to make sure that I get back to people quickly because I know, when you guys reach out, it's important to me that like you guys don't think I'm ignoring you and like I want to get, back to you quickly. Like, so I try my best to like make sure that after the show, I check my emails and I check my DMs and I try to respond. I do get sidetracked sometimes, whether it's, my kiddo needing me to do something or like, I put it down obviously to like do my housework, cook dinner, blah, 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 blah. So like I take a certain amount of time to try to, answer emails or whatever. And sometimes I get interrupted by a phone call, by a whatever, right? So, but I was answering them and I had an email from YouTube. Okay. Now the email from YouTube says, okay, here it is. Hold on. Scroll down. Twisted Tragedies. Welcome to the YouTube Partner Program. Congratulations, your dedication has paid off, and you're now among a prestigious community of creators building their voices and businesses on YouTube. What does this mean? This means you can start earning money from your content through ads, YouTube Premium, channel memberships, super chat, super stickers, super thanks, and YouTube shopping. What to do next? Well, they have given my monetization back. So I am now able to get super chats and super stickers and super thanks. And my memberships should be on within 24 hours, it says. So I don't think it's there now. I obviously can't see because I'm not on you guys' end. But I do have super chats and super stickers. The one thing about YouTube, though, that kind of sucks, and I'll make this clear so everybody knows, is they do take a cut of it. So the best options for donating to the show are still the ones that we already have. The Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, all of those. Obviously, some people prefer using the super chats and super stickers and stuff, especially when they're out of country, which is totally okay. I totally get it. I just want everybody to know how that works. For instance, when it comes to YouTube with super chats, super stickers, and all that stuff, you only get paid one time per month. So basically, you get it between the 21st and the 25th of the month. So for instance, this month, I wouldn't obviously get anything until this time next month. And you have to hit a minimum. You have to hit a minimum of $100 before the 21st of the month in order to even get paid out that month. So of course, they have a caveat to it when it comes to YouTube. So, I mean, obviously anybody can donate any way they want. But I do want everybody to be, this is the first super sticker from B Tim. Thank you, B Tim. I love that. I love it. It's our first super sticker, you guys, since we got it back. I'm so excited. Thank you, B Tim. But I mean, I think it's great that we have it back. Obviously, we've been waiting a long time for them to decide on it. And so it's awesome that we have it back. I just want everybody to know how it works. The most direct route to support the channel is still the options we already have, the direct options, because YouTube doesn't take a cut out of that. So, oh, you're right. We should play that. Let's see. Where is that? I think we got a super chat. I think we got a super chat. I think we got a super chat. That just makes me laugh every freaking time. Literally every freaking time. I can't help it. I literally can't help it. All right. That's the good news. The good news is they gave it back after waiting forever. I actually didn't even think we were going to get it until the end of this. Oh, thank you, JMS, for the super sticker. I appreciate it. I love it. I love it. We have it back. So I'm excited that we have it back. But yes, the most direct route. I think we got a super chat. I think we got a super chat. Yeah, they do help the algorithm. They do help the algorithm. But thank you, Sailboat Wolf. I appreciate it. I love it. The comment is a bribe to not show the tank top ladies ever again. I love it. Thank you so much. Thank you, Holly. But yes, I mean, some people obviously prefer to do it this way through Super Chat and Super Sticker because they already have their card information hooked up to it or whatever, which is awesome. And we have it back. So it's exciting. It's very exciting. But the most direct route still is to do the options we already have because the Super Chats and Super Stickers, we don't get those. So I won't see these until a month from now. But the monthly membership fees are different. There's 4 tiers. And I did whatever they recommended. I just said it like they already have like a recommended set based on, I don't know, based on whatever, based on what I don't know what they base it on. But I just clicked the button that says there's 4 tiers and to set them at the recommended for YouTube. I think they do it like based on, how many subscribers or how active you're. I don't know. I don't know how they do it, but I set it to whatever it is recommended for 4. So there's 4 separate levels of the memberships. So they won't be out, I don't think, until tomorrow. It said 24 hours. So hopefully it'll be before 24 hours, but it said 24 hours. So I don't think it'll be up and running until tonight or tomorrow. So, but by tonight or tomorrow, we will have it. Like, oh my God, I love it. To piss off your haters like I did to Alessi. Thank you, Dr. Daddy Wolf. I appreciate you. Good morning, Scorpio. I know, right? That's I love you guys. Hilarious. And it is to piss off my haters too, because they're all they love to just harass. And it's like, dude, I don't even like you. Like, I don't know you. I don't like you. Like, if you spend all of your day on Twitter going after people you don't like, but you don't know, like, oh yeah, my channel will be around. It was long before this trial. It'll be around after this trial. I've done many other cases. I've done the Sandra Birchmore case a couple times. I've done my friend Miguel. We're going to do the Koberger case. There's plenty of other cases to go through. This is what the channel was made for, to go through cases like missing persons, cold cases, ongoing trials, all sorts of stuff. So we still have a ton of stuff coming even after this case ends, which is amazing. We have Brian Walsh coming. That'll be an interesting one. If they still think that there's reasonable doubt, like, I don't know, I can sell them an igloo in Alaska and maybe some ice cubes. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, yep, I've done Sandra twice and I intend on doing it again. Long before anybody paid attention to her. My biggest fear is that these people from this case, sort of grifting and running off of this case, will run to Sandra's case when this is over and try to make a circus out of her case. And that is my biggest fear when it comes to Sandra and her case, because her family and her friends, she didn't have a lot of family left, but she certainly had a lot of friends that cared about her. And she absolutely 100% deserves for her case not to be turned into a freaking circus based on what these people do. So, I prefer that, they completely forget that her case exists. That way they don't make it into a circus. Cause that's my biggest fear when it comes to this, is that her case will be turned into some ridiculous circus, because this case will be over and they won't have anywhere else to sort of go to, like, I don't know, like, it's right. And Karen, probably, you're right. Big bad wolf. Yep. Definitely. She's afraid of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you gotta roll with the punches. So yes, we have our monetization back. We very well appreciate it. Thank you, YouTube, for taking 72 years, but I appreciate having my monetization back. But yes, the most direct routes to donate to the channel are still Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, because when you donate through Super Chats, Super Stickers, and all that stuff, that money doesn't come in for an entire month. And you have to hit $100 first before you ever get paid out. And again, it's still monthly. So it doesn't matter. If I hit the $100, even if I hit it today, I won't get it until the 23rd or 21st of next month. So the most direct routes to still not have YouTube take a cut out of it are these. And we have, the link for people who want to do credit or debit as well. Good morning, Jen. Listen, girl, you do that. Dr. Daddy Wolf. Love your face. Love your face. I actually saw the post where they said about the guy that was on earlier, who was the forensic data phone guy. They're making jokes that it took him 17 years to go to college. I don't care if it took you 35 years. Listen, I've tried twice to go back, and he's right. Sometimes life just gets in the way, life and family, and it just gets in the way. Like money, time, all of those things are like, I don't give a shit if it took the guy 30 years to get it. If he eventually gets it, good for him. And even if he doesn't, he's got plenty of experience. He doesn't really need to. Like, he has plenty of experience. Does he want to waste more time and money knowing stuff he already knows just to get a piece of paper that says he knows it? I don't know. It might not be worth it for him anymore. Life gets in the way, like I have my own very severe, serious health conditions, and then I have a kid that has it. So sometimes you just don't have any other option but to put it on a pause, and he put his on a pause, obviously, a couple times to do what he needed to do for his family and his life. And, and I don't think it matters how long it took him or didn't take him, to do it. Like, he's smarter than 90% of the people making fun of him. Sad for them, huh? Like, yeah. Yeah, they're the same people that cry about bullying all day when anybody says anything to them about anything. You know what I mean? Like, it's really sad. Like, and that's the funny part about it, right? Is none of them have that kind of experience or education, and they probably didn't understand a single word. A single freaking word that he said. You know what I mean? Like, two different places, as a matter of fact. I actually originally went for medical coding, and then I went back to community college for classes to try to go to law school. And the goal was do 2 years of community college and transfer. If you get straight A's for 2 years, you can transfer to a school like Harvard. And that was my goal, was to transfer after 2 and finish there. So that's where your degree would come from. Obviously, unfortunately, that didn't happen. And I would love to. SMK, I would freaking love to. I would absolutely love to. It's about having the time and money to do it. You know what I mean? Like, not having a car is a big wrench in all of that, unfortunately. And health issues are a big wrench in that. Like, so, oh my God, that would be hilarious. Do it, do it, do it, do it, do it. I would watch that all day long. Like, all day long. You know what I mean? Like, all day. Hopefully Ellen Greenberg will go to trial someday. She deserves justice too. Yeah, I agree with that. Like, that one really hurt me. Like, kids and life do get in the way, And you're right, Shannon. That elitist snobbery could backfire. I mean, we see a lot of that when it comes to the FKR people. As you just saw, we just had a troll. I don't need knowledge, just boot. Like, what's the point? That's all they do is sit on Twitter and talk shit about the people that clearly get under their skin by telling. If I get under their skin by telling the truth, well, that sucks. Then I guess I'm doing what I came here to do, which is make sure that people are getting the correct information. And I'm not perfect. No one is. Of course, that's why I tell you guys to double and triple check information no matter who you get it from, Did you see what John DePetro posted about the top rear part of Karen's car that protrudes from the top of her car? That's what I was referring to yesterday. Okay, hold on. Top rear part of Karen's car that protrudes from the top of her car. Are we talking about like when the lift gate comes up, like the top of that, like if it was closed? Is that what you're talking about? That sort of like little box thing that's like at the top of the window, on the back window? Or are we talking more of like the top of like where the bumper is? Ellen, how are you feeling? Well, there's no spoiler on it. It would be a spoiler would be on the top of the car, like on the back, if that makes sense. Alessi knew he was done after he asked Dr. Wolf, tell us about your day. Well, we're going to watch a little bit of the brain surgeon again because it was just so good. Yeah, we do hope that Ellen is feeling better. She was positive for COVID, and that definitely sucks. I don't think he knew what to say. You know what I mean? I don't think he knew what to say, really. Like, the top of the car near the roof. So that could be a spoiler. I mean, we can look at it. Hold on. Let's look at it. We can look at the car. Hold on. Let's see. Hold on. Let me get rid of some of these tabs I got open over here. I was doing a million things this morning, and let me see if I can. Oh, don't worry about it. I don't care about capital letters. Sometimes it lets me see it easier. Let's see. Lexus. Hold on. Let's do a black Lexus 578. It was a 2022 as far as I understand it. All right. Let's see. 2022 Lexus LX 570. Does anybody know if it was an LX? Or if it was. This is the back of one of those. Hold on. Let's bring this up real quick. Oh, John posted a picture of it. Okay, well, maybe we can just do that then. We can go to that. Hold on. Let me get that then. Let's see what John wrote. Let's see here. You know, they make a lot of good points. John does. Matt Timpanic. I know I'm probably literally butchering his last name, and I apologize, but I seem to always sort of have some of the same legal takes that he does often. So let's see here. Liftgate. Okay, let's see how far down it was. Trying to find it. I see the brain surgeon. John's got a lot of posts, so I'm trying to. Aha, I found it. Okay. All right, let's see here. Let me pull the picture up. It says that's the. Hold on. That is the part of Karen Reed's Lexus SUV that struck John O'Keefe in the right eye. She backed up and clipped him with right arm. Wait, hold on. Right arm at taillight. Right knee banged, and top right circle caught his right eye, sending him falling backward. Oh, I see what he's saying. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna pull this up on the screen for you guys. Hold on one second. Oof, let me get this off of the screen and pull this up. Share screen. Let's see. So this is what he's talking about. He circled it. You see that top part there? So we know that John's elbow, his arm and elbow, at the height he was at would have been where the taillight is. So, I mean, he was tall. So if she hit him in the knee, his face could have went forward, hit the, car there. And then that sort of momentum sent him to hit his head backwards. That makes a lot of sense. We could definitely try to blow it up and make it a little clearer as well. But I mean, it's pretty clear what he's talking about. Like, oh, let's see. The account was new and seen. No, it's not. It's not. That person's okay. I know who it is. Most of the time, if I haven't, blocked them, I know who it is. Thank you, Jen, for the super sticker. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Check the comment section. Someone posted a picture of someone same height as John. Oh, okay. JMS, he did. I was under the impression when he said that the spoiler was what caused the injury to his head. No, I think what was meant by it was he was probably clipped like the bumper, right? At his knee. That made him go forward, right? And forward, that's where he hit his eye, where he scratched his eye. And that momentum of hitting your, scratching right here of your head going down after being hit, right, is the momentum that sent him backwards again. Like, that would make sense. All right, let's see. I'll check the comment section, like you said. Hold on. And I'm going to guess it's filled with a cesspool of idiots as well. Oh, crap. No, I want to read the comments. I don't want to comment in the comments. Hold on. Is it going to let me just read them or what here? No, I don't want to. I don't want to reply. I want to read them. God damn it. Maybe I have to go back to do that. Hold on. I'm checking the, see here. No, I don't want to reply. It won't even, like, what, I don't usually use it online. Like, I usually just, no, it's say reply. I don't want to reply. I want to read them. How do I just read them? Gosh, dang it. Anybody know how to do this online? I've never done it online. Like, yeah, you can comment on it. I want to just read the damn comments. Like, what the, I don't like this. I don't like the way that this is set up. LX570. That's what I thought. No, you're not blocked. You're there. Yeah. Ashley didn't recognize your account, so she thought maybe you could be trolling, but I had to tell her you're not. Check the comment section. Someone posted it. Yeah, so I was trying. Anybody know how to do this online? I don't usually use it online. The laceration on John's eye. Yeah, it would. Click the black part of the box. Thank you guys for helping me because I don't usually use X online. So this is like a new thing for me. I use it to like look at stuff with you guys, but I don't, just the box. Ah, thank you. Okay. Oh yeah, this is what I was talking about before. We've done this before. This person was about the same height as John. Oh, this is what you guys mean. This thing right here, this part in the second picture here, this lift gate top part that looks, could be kind of like a spoiler. I see what you guys mean. I see. Thank you guys. So yeah, let me see if I can make this a little bigger. I don't think I can, but let me try. Oh, I can. So this one right here, this one is what I want to focus on here. Because this is, see how the head is lined up with that? It is the same SUV. Yes, that is the same. Yeah, I mean, I was trying to find the comments. I've never done X on like a computer. Normally, I only check it on my phone. Like I'll scroll, but I don't usually comment on the computer. So that's like a new thing for me. 2021. Yeah, this is the same SUV. So these pictures were doing a basically to do these pictures, but it's to show like a person this height would. So this is Karen's car, right? This one here. And so this, you can sort of see the lift gate part of it, the top of the spoiler / car. See, this is the lift gate here, this piece. So if you go up to the top, it's like kind of like a spoiler here at the top. And that's where he could have hit his head, or I should say, and get the momentum to force him backwards again. Like where he hit his head on the back. Like, of course not. That's, I mean, we're talking about people who will just like, they don't want to investigate anything. They don't want to investigate any part of anything that has to do with this case that doesn't fit their ridiculous, theory of nonsense. Like it's just that simple. Unfortunately, you know what I mean? Like it's unfortunate, but it's true. Like it's just, it sucks because there's been so many times where people have tried to point out to them, like, what you're saying doesn't make sense because of X, and gently and nicely. And yet the immediate response is usually just insulting that person, which is like, if that's all you have is insulting someone, you've already lost the argument. You know what I mean? You're already losing the goddamn argument. Like, well, that's the other thing. If you're going to listen to what someone tells you to believe, then that's a problem. You should all do your own research. Even I tell you to do that. You know what I mean? Like, come on. Morning, Anna. Well, yeah, exactly. Why do your own research when you have a sewer turtle to tell you what to do? The Altman's obsessed with me. That's all she does is literally talk about me online or someone else that she's obsessed with for that day. And it's just all nonsense. She talks about, people who are on public assistance and how they're like, poor, so they're shitty people. It's like so absurd. I don't even know how her employer or the people who give her license even allow her to have a license. when she's constantly cyber stalking and cyber harassing people that don't even respond to her. Like I'm sorry, but that's utterly ridiculous. I would not want her working with my elderly family member. That's for damn sure. Like, hell no. Like, thank you, Holly. I appreciate that. That's a good idea. Like, we knew that the sensors were on when she entered. She made her own butt dial that night, which again, people never talk about, right? Like, never talk about the fact that she made her own butt dials that night. And as she was entering John's garage, the sensors are going off. Beep, 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 beep. So we know those sensors were on when she hit John. It's that simple. They were on. That's not cool, man. Like, so when do they think he got punched in the eye, before or after he hit the ground? Did they ambush him after Karen drove off? Well, that's exactly right, right? So it would have to be what 1 hour? It would have to be 1 hour. I mean, 1 hour, 1 minute. It would have to be 1 minute while Karen's still there. That's what would have had to happen. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's what would have had to happen. Like, that's just sad. That's sad. Like, if you can't figure out that clearly somebody didn't beat him up within a minute of Karen still being there, like the car data shows you and his phone data shows you everything you need to know. Everything. It's not hard to figure out. And then you add the rest of the evidence to it, and it's devastating. It is devastating to her case, especially this cockamamie nonsense about being, beat up in the house and a dog. I'm sorry, but no, like, absolutely freaking not. So this is a walk around of her vehicle. So we're going to look at this real quick. Drunk turkey is a great saying. Oh, I love drunk turkeys. When you're right, you pound the facts. When you're wrong, you pound the table. That's a great one. That's a really good one. That is a really good one. I mean, it's true, right? It's true. It's absolutely true. Like, you attack the argument, not the person. You know what I'm saying? The argument, not the person. That's what you attack. Yet, that's what they attack, is people. Their looks, how much money they make, where they live, whether they've ever been on public assistance or not, which is like such a, like, it says more about the person harassing and trying to like disparage people for that than it does about you trying to disparage them for it. It says a lot about who you are as a person, that you think you're better than someone else who needs help. That's shitty. I mean, I don't get food stamps, but I wish that I did, because I'd have a lot more groceries in my house. I'll tell you that much. Like, right? She has her own ME. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just nutty to me. Jesse said her car must have been going absolutely crazy. Exactly. And that's kind of the problem that I have with it, is like, she had to have known she hit John. Even if people want to say it was an accident of some sort, right? Like, those bells and whistles are going off. You hit something and then you just drive away. You don't get out. You don't look. I want to know if that car data says that she opened that door and she got out. Did she open her driver's door? They know that John took his seatbelt off. Was Karen wearing a seatbelt? Did she take her seatbelt off after she hit him? I don't know. We won't know probably until we talk to the accident reconstructionist, which is Dr. Welcher. But I feel like Hank might be saving him for dead last. That's what I feel like at this point. I feel like we still haven't seen the ring expert. The Commonwealth has their own like dog person to debunk that. And I think there's 2 other people that were on the list, but we don't know who Hank will call and who Hank won't, right? He sliced this trial in half by not calling people like the Alberts. There was no reason. Although I would have loved to see another Nebercracker from Chris. Chris, I'm going to need you to do the Nebercracker for me the next time I see you. I'm going to need you to do that because it was funny. And like, poor Chris is like, you mean the cartoon character Nebercracker in the first trial? Like, the fact that David Yannetti or Alan Jackson even attempted to try to make some big deal out of like an inside joke between friends is like the funniest thing he's like, the cartoon character? Like, what? Like, the clips are sinking her. Are absolutely sinking her. Ronnie the juror recently said in an interview that with those clips, he would lean towards conviction. What does that tell you? You know? Like, what does that tell you? Like, let's see. I'm trying to get, crap. Did I accidentally exit out? No, I didn't. Trying to get this up on the screen here. He does. He has great timing. That's for damn sure. So this is Alexis LX570, black in color. We're going to watch this real quick. Let me just drag this over here so I can look at that screen and this one at the same time. All right. Just watch this for a second here. Inside and outside of, you know, almost the same as what Cameron had. Year, I think. I think hers was, no, this is a 2022. It happened in 2022. That's it. I mean, look at the girth of that thing. Now, oh, they zoom in on the taillight, yo. That thing's definitely got some girth to it. Imagine your body hitting that. Like, just almost like all the bells and whistles. For sure. Like, imagine at nighttime those tires going backwards. Okay. At 24, I can. 24 miles per hour. I absolutely can. Mute the music, yes. It's huge. It's freaking huge. Although John's Chevy Traverse was taller, like it was bigger. Like, but I mean, you're in this thing and the bells and whistles are going off. Ding, 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 ding at 75% acceleration. Pedal to the metal, right? And your things are screaming at you, beep, 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 and you just keep going. And you just keep going. You hit something, you feel like you struck something, but you don't get out and check. That's hard for me to believe that she doesn't get out at some point after she hits him. That talk about the glass, I feel like that had to have been right after. Either that didn't happen or it happened right after she hit him. Like it had to have been. Now in Karen's car, they took all of this stuff out. So see the middle console there? They took all of this stuff out because they had to get to the infotainment system. But this is what it looked like. That's a very large screen in the middle there. Right? That thing would have been beeping. Beep, 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 beep. Like what the hell? Like this is the whole like infotainment system. They ripped all of this out in Karen's car. But look at, even that thing is telling you to turn the lights off right there. See it? Turn the lights off. The lights are on and the door is open. So it's telling you to turn the lights off. Like, oh yeah, that happened. Yep. That happened, Dr. Daddy Wolf. Yep. That happened. Yep. Talking about how someone cyber stalked and harassed her, which is like the funniest thing I've ever heard a day in my life. Like literally. Well, money to her is everything, you know. She can buy her way out of things, unfortunately, you know. Like it was huge, right? It was huge. It was huge. But this is the area right there that would have been going off when Karen is backing up, right? Like, I mean, it's a nice vehicle. That's definitely for sure. And look at the bells and whistles it comes with. Not only is that screen in the middle telling you, but right in front of the steering wheel, right there, there are things that go off that tell you close the door, seatbelts off, tires low on air, whatever. Like traction controls on, traction controls off, whatever. Like John's car roof was slightly lower than Karen's Lexus. The freaking grill. Yeah, I think the car designers must have been on something that day when they did that. I think it's ridiculous. The thing is ridiculous. Also, though, it's opening up the back seats. Did you see that? The like back part where there's usually like a pouch, it kind of like opens up a little. Like that's kind of, it's a new thing. Although kind of cool. I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of cool. Like definitely kind of cool. It has shades in it, as you can see. When you put the windows up, there are little shades that go up too, so you can sleep, I guess. Yeah, and the reverse camera you would have seen on that screen. But the reverse camera didn't catch anything as far as we know, you know? Oh my God, that's so funny. Yeah, the little cars can tell you all sorts of shit nowadays. Like, it's kind of insane. Afternoon, Trisha. They already played it. I don't think they're gonna play it again because they already played it. But it's a possibility. Usually, if something's already been played, they don't usually play it again. But unless it's being used in like more of it is being used. I mean, look at the buttons that are down there alone. Like this right here, this middle console area, the entire thing in Karen's car was ripped out. You know, they have to get to the. Oh my God, that's so funny, Jesse. She said her mom's car tells her to keep her eyes on the road. That is hilarious. Imagine your car being like, keep your eyes on the road, please. Like, well, she was definitely trying to like fill a hole, you know? I mean, I think we all in some way try to fill that hole with things, you know, in some way. Not gonna lie, getting things definitely makes everyone happy in a way, you know? Like, I'm not gonna lie, my conspiracy chairs, Alma, best thing ever. I love them. I love that I can sit out there with my coffee and I can listen to the birds and I can grill on the grill and I can like read and it's so peaceful and there's a table. I can put my coffee on the table that's in the middle of it. I love it so much. Like, so I appreciate it. Like things like that, like they make my heart happy. Like just little things, you know what I mean? It's like the little things in life. Like when you start to get older and you have, you know, health issues, you start to think about the little things that you enjoy and you just start to enjoy them, you know? Like just start to enjoy them. Like, nah, I'm usually on top of that, Ash. I usually know who it is anyway. If they weren't, they probably would have already been booted before you entered. That screen would have shown her the view. She knew she could see. Then she could see him in her headlights after she hit him. I still want to know if she got out. Did she get out? How do you feel like you struck something you don't get out? All the warning signs are going off, beep, 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 and you don't get out after. I feel like she had to have, right? Like, I don't know if she's wearing a seatbelt or not, though. You know, like all cars now have warning and cameras. She had a backup camera and a 300. Yeah, she had the 360-degree camera too. I have the backup camera and you see everything. And my gosh, the beeping is so loud. And we know hers was loud, you know? So Wolf says, someone should tell Karen that Lexuses are for people who can't afford a Mercedes and film her. Imagine, oh my God, she would be like so offended, right? Like, oh, I can afford a Mercedes. Imagine she goes out and buys a Mercedes. She can't even drive. Yeah, we saw the clip where Karen said they were all working, right? You can hear them when I go into the garage at 12:41 a.m. that they're going off, beep, 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 beep. So like she confirms herself that is her pulling into the garage at 12:41 with her alarms going off so that there's nothing to clear up. Nobody could say it was somebody else's car. Like the conspiracies can stop, but she cleared it right up. It's her car. It's her. Like, might tell her it's a Toyota. It isn't just money. It's that her father is an academic and there are connections high up in government and finance. Oh, absolutely. 100%. That comes with like political connections and all sorts of crap. It's who you know, right? Who? Mostly, you know? Connections were used and strings were pulled for sure. I 100% agree. You know, if I had one, I feel like it would tell me to take a coffee break. I feel like it would tell me to take a coffee break. I want to know too. I don't want to. I need to know if she went back or if she got out of that car. I need to know. I pray that the accident reconstructionist is going to tell us, like, if she went back or not. Like, that's the sad part, freak, is that she definitely could see what she was doing. The question is, was she that drunk that she was blacked out and she started to remember after she did it? Either way, she didn't do it on accident. That's the part that I have a problem with. They would be like, oh, maybe it was an accident. Even if she was blackout drunk, you don't accidentally back up at 24 miles an hour. That's no accident. You clearly, even blackout drunk, are in a rage, right? Like that's still not an accident. Like not knowing and being blackout drunk isn't an accident. That's you being, reckless, You know what I'm saying? She would have had to get out to look. And we know that at some point, she, at least this is what she said to Gretchen Voss in the first interview, is that she plucked a piece of tail light out of her own car because she was worried about the wires sticking out, and she was worried about a fire hazard. So she like pulled a piece of tail light out of what had been broken and dropped it in the snow in John's driveway. Where's the video to that? Oh, wait, it doesn't exist anymore. Imagine all the videos that show things that Karen would have done don't exist anymore. I freaking love that. I love that for Honda. Hondas last a really long time. Hondas and Toyotas, they last the longest and they hold value. They're always good cars to have, you know? John, was that you? Seems like she went back and saw him laying there. I mean, yeah, just speculating as well, but like if she pulled a piece of glass out of his nose, it wasn't at 6 a.m. because he wouldn't have been gushing blood. He wasn't breathing anymore. He wasn't alive. So he wouldn't have been gushing blood. So does that mean A, it didn't happen, or B, she pulled that piece of glass? Because Carrie's the one that uncovered his face. So Carrie didn't see her do that. So when did she pluck this piece of glass out of his nose? Was it right after she hit him? Did she go back? Because it couldn't have been at 6. Right? Yeah, it's kind of like a spoiler. On top of the SUV is so big. Hank wanted the jury to pay attention to it. Wonder if that caused the scratch. And I think that's what he's implying, is that it caused the sort of thing on John's eye, and that momentum sent him backwards. I think. I think that's what he's suggesting at this point, right? Sorry, guys, my phone's going off. I just want to make sure I'm not have to thank anybody real quick. If you do want to donate to the channel, you can do so these ways. We do have monetization back for those of you that didn't know. We do have super chats and super stickers, but it is better to donate through these options because some of you weren't here when I explained this earlier. YouTube takes their cut. And it only comes once a month, so I won't see any of it until next month. You have to hit $100 before you get anything anyway. And then it's only a payout of one time a month after YouTube takes their cut. So the most direct routes to still support the channel are PayPal, Cash App, Venmo, Revolut, and then we have the link for those of you who just want to use credit or debit. You also can use super chats and super stickers if that's your preferred method, of course. I just want everybody to know what the most direct route for helping the channel is, and the best, bang for your buck, because they do take, YouTube takes their cut and they only pay out once a month. So that's hard for a small channel like mine. But we will have our memberships back tomorrow. It says it will take 24 hours, about 24 hours. So by tomorrow, we will have those 4 membership tiers. I just clicked off the thing that says recommended. So they'll recommend how much each tier should be based on whatever analytics they use. I don't know what the analytics are that they use. I tried to look. It doesn't tell you. It just says based on your audience. That's all it says. So I don't know. But it says it could take up to 24 hours to kick into effect for the memberships. So we'll get there, guys. It should be there tomorrow. Let's see. Me too, Jesse. I want to know so many things. So many things. Like, there are so many things left to want to know. And I do think that we'll get quite a bit from the accident reconstructionist, but I do wonder if Hank is going to wait until, to use Dr. Welcher, dead last. Like, just to hammer in all of the points. You know what I'm saying? Like, to hammer it all in. Leon said, I've enjoyed watching where, going from pretending to be centrist on this case to straight up, is Proctor planting glass on the taillight? You know how absurd that is. Never mind the fact that, like, basically what was proved yesterday was that there was 2 glasses, Karen's glass and John's glass. John's glass must be the one they found next to him with some of the pieces there. And Karen's glass must have been, or vice versa, could be, or vice versa, is the one that some of that glass was on the bumper. But there's a reason why the glass from the bumper didn't match the glass next to John. And that is because, as we know, as Karen told us in her ID documentary, John also took her glass out of the center console. So John very well could have 2 glasses. And that is why his glass and Karen's glass, which is why the glass from the bumper didn't match the glass next to him, because it's 2 different glasses. Like, after getting back around 12:36 and sitting for 5 minutes plotting and planning before pulling into the garage. That's the thing. She sat there for quite a few minutes. You know what I mean? Like, and I do think she got out and looked at the taillight. I think that maybe when she plucked a piece of the taillight out and dropped it onto the driveway in the snow, you know, I 100% think that those deleted videos, Karen's the only one that would have had the motive, the means, and the access. You think that the cops, the conspiracy theory is what? That the police deleted the ring videos that would show Karen's guilt? Does that even make logical sense? Why would they delete any ring cam footage? Especially ones where she's saying she did X, Y, or Z. And clearly we don't have those videos, so those ones are gone. Why would the police delete videos that show Karen did something that would help them? That makes no sense. Common sense. You know what I mean? It does. It absolutely does, Jesse. I totally get it. Most people haven't backed up that fast unless you're mad, right? I one or two times when I had a car, way younger than I am now, definitely recklessly backed up, pissed off. I don't know how fast I was going. I didn't check, but I was definitely pissed the hell off. You definitely don't back up at 24 miles an hour while you're sober and not pissed off. Like, clearly she was drunk and clearly very upset, you know? But I don't think exactly. She wasn't blackout because she didn't crash into a telephone pole on her way home. You know what I mean? So she clearly at least knew well enough to be driving. So you had to be somewhat coherent, right? It's a very good point, Alba. Alba said she wasn't blackout drunk because she could still drive home and talk properly. So she was conscious enough to get home safely. Yeah, I think you're right. She didn't crash into a pole on her way home. You know what I mean? So she clearly was sober enough, drunk, but sober enough that she could drive down the street without crashing into a pole, you know? I think, I mean, that's the thing. Definitely she was pissed off going 24 miles an hour. Nobody does that while they're super happy, you know? Like, magically malicious. That's how it went missing, you know? Oh, thank you, Andrea. I appreciate this comment. Yeah, she was with the glarer. I mean, I don't know. You know, we saw people pointed her out. It's a little crazy to me that these people buy into these conspiracy theories knowing that they don't make logical sense, you know? Yeah, Kerry did say that. He has like an ice cube like on his eye. Like, you know, it's sad. I've heard about a lot of people who used to like her. You know, same when it comes to some of the other law tubers that they followed. It's really like, I didn't follow some of those people, but what I will tell you is this. Most of you know why I started my channel. I have two people that I know that went missing in my lifetime. One, a really close friend and a roommate of mine, Miguel. The FBI is now offering a reward for his remains to be brought home. He's been missing since 2006 with no sign of where the hell he went or what happened to him. And a friend's mom who went missing in Hanson right before COVID in 2019. And again, no sign of her. And I thought maybe, you know, starting a channel, I could do ongoing cases, some missing persons cases, some cold cases, and also teach people the way to like know what this motion means in a trial, what this means pre-trial, teach them the layman's terms of legalese so that when they're watching another trial or they're, you know, reading something that they know what it is and they know what it means and they know how it can be applied. And it really hurts my heart to see some people purposely misleading, knowing what they know about the law and how it's applied and what makes sense and what doesn't, purposely misleading people because it's the popular or lucrative thing to do. I don't know how they look themselves in the mirror, to be honest. I honestly don't. I can only speak for myself, but I couldn't do it. Once the evidence given to me showed me what was, right? You can't go back. Like, you can't look at the evidence and then be like, I didn't see it. I didn't hear it. And that is what I see happening. They're just dismissing all of the evidence that proves she's guilty and throwing Because again, there's no evidence to prove anybody else did anything else. Nothing, zero, not a shred. It's all speculation and conspiracy theories. And they just don't fit into anything plausible, right? Like, oh, Alba, me too. Me too. I literally cannot wait for Dr. Welcher. I feel like he's going to be last. And if he is, like, I feel like that's going to be the big, the bomb drop, the end, when it comes to it. I don't know about the rank expert. I thought he was supposed to testify last week, but then they had that day off. So I'm not sure if Hank's still going to use the ring expert. Is he not going to use the ring expert? I don't know. I think he's going to use Dr. Welcher last, I feel like, at this point, 6'3.2. How tall was John? I think someone's 6'2 or 6'3, aroundish. I don't know the exact, but it was that height. But I agree with you. Good morning, Francesca. But I agree with you. He was supposed to testify last week. But I know that week kind of got screwed up with Karen taking her day off, which I've never seen happen. Like, she took it. She took it out of the, or he took it out of one of them. Each one of them took one glass. And if you go and watch the entire footage, you do see them keep it and go, which I've seen people do a million times. I'm sure you have too, Jesse. Like, that's because they went to the CF McCarthy's in the waterfall. You're not going to bring one glass in to another place. You know what I'm saying? They leave it in the car. Like, so what I'm saying is they took one glass from each place, one glass from CF McCarthy's, one glass from Waterfall. That's two glasses. John took one glass and Karen took one glass. And you see John take the glass at Waterfall. Waterfall was the last place that they were. They went to CF McCarthy's first. So you're not going to bring your drink from CF McCarthy's into the Waterfall. You know what I mean? You're going to leave it in the car. If it's finished, and if it's not, you're still going to leave it in the car for after. Like, leave the jury with the reconstruction at the end, fresh in their minds. That's what I figure, Freak. That's literally what I figure is they're going to use that as dead last, like, well, they didn't know, right? They didn't know that they didn't suspect that John had two glasses last time. They didn't have time to test this time for the second glass. That's the first time. If you go back to right before they started the trial, Hank says in one of the pretrial, like, court things, like, Your Honor, this is the first time we're hearing anything about John taking Miss Reed's glass out with him to the car. And that was when the ID documentary was released. So they did not have time to then try to have the glass tested against the glasses from CF McCarthy's or the Waterfall, whichever one it was, to see if that matched, because the trial was already starting. And no, she couldn't physically match the pieces, but they're made out of the same, materials. Interesting. That's the VIN number of the car. No, they each took one glass from one, like, I can't remember who it was that took which one from where, but one was taken from the Waterfall and one was taken from CF McCarthy's. I don't know why. I mean, it wouldn't matter if they were from two different glasses. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because they had two glasses. John had two glasses. He had his glass and then Karen's glass with the straw. And we know that they found the straw. So clearly he was holding at least Karen's glass because they found the black straw. Well, that's the thing. You can still, like, ignore all of the glass evidence in itself and still convict her without a problem. You know what I mean? Like, yes, exactly. John took a glass that was Karen's from, I can't remember if it was Waterfall or CF McCarthy's. It was one of them. And then he had taken a glass from somewhere else. Or she'd taken a glass. 2 glasses were taken from 2 separate places, bottom line. I'd have to go look at the videos again to see who took which one from where, but it's a good point. Yes. Anna said she backed up into a pole. Her sensors did not go off as they too have a blind spot. Did $5,000 of damage and I wasn't in a drunken rage and did not repair. Well, she had 360 cameras. So there's the difference there is they didn't have there's no blind spot on her car because that Lexus comes with 360-degree cameras. I mean, I think that's the theory, right? I believe that's the theory that the Commonwealth had. Not sure, if that's what happened, obviously, but it's the theory, With Judge Bev taking days off, ending court early, and Karen calling in sick for a day off probably screwed up the days the witnesses testify. Yeah, I agree with you. I think it messed some things up. I think it was metal part of the taillight right above the plastic. Well, that's the other thing. It was a metal piece sort of sticking out, but that's where his arm was. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Trisha. I appreciate it. And I appreciate that you will still use Revolut because those ways are the most direct ways, obviously, to donate to the channel. So thank you, Trisha. I appreciate you. Hi, Emma. You would think so at this point. You know what I'm saying? You would think so. Even people who did change their mind after the evidence, so many people have tried to explain the evidence to people who are just stuck in that bubble. And Jesse can tell you about being in that echo chamber. There are other people who are in that echo chamber too, that kind of like almost when they came out of it felt like, well, now cold water has been thrown on me, right? Like now there's been cold water thrown on me. Now I know that, what I had been fed is not true. And that some of the things I was fed are just utter BS. I think it's hard for them to come out of that. That's the problem. To come out of it to begin with is half the problem. My car beeps if I have something in vicinity, walls or whatever, even if I don't switch on the camera and I can see in the screen the warning yellow, close, red, too close. We do know Karen is a liar. That's a true. That is very, very, very true. I know, right? Like everyone just set her up. Like, well, everybody set up Karen. Wah. Like, I definitely want to hear from the ring expert if Hank's still going to, use it. Like, thank you, Holly. I will check it. Thank you so much. Well, that's the thing. They don't believe it, but they also don't understand it. The other part of like looking at the evidence is actually understanding what you're looking at. And clearly we have a problem with some of these people actually knowing what the hell they're looking at, for sure. Like, oh, wow. Yeah, this is really intricate. The sensors detect an obstacle. A graphic is shown on the multi-information display and the remote touchscreen, depending on the position and distance of the obstacle. Yeah, so like I was telling you guys, it would show on the screen in front of you where the steering wheel is and on the touch screen. So like this is like an intricate system with all the bells and whistles. You know what I mean? The reach is at silly straw levels, Anna. It's at silly straw levels, literally silly straw levels. Like, yeah, nowadays it does scream at you. At 100% definitely screams at you. That's for sure. 100% sure. Like, let's see. Let's see here. I'm trying to real quick. Okay. I was just checking to make sure I don't have to thank anybody to see if there was anything in PayPal. I don't see anything in Cash App or Venmo either, but I don't want to miss anything. I want to make sure that I thank everybody. So we do have our monetization back. Thank you, YouTube. But the most direct route to donate to the channel is still these because YouTube pays out only once a month and they take their cut. So they don't when it comes to Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, And we have the link for those of you who want to use just credit or debit. That is definitely still the most direct route to support the channel and help in the short term. Yeah, John was seen with a glass at the waterfall. I got to check out my cards. Yeah, I got to look at both of them. They were both there. There's 2 glasses that are taken that night, one from each place. Well, I'm thinking about it, right? And like, say for instance, I'm holding 2 glasses. I can still put one glass in my hand, reach in my pocket, grab my phone, and then grab the glass. I've done that a billion times, even hosting like, parties, birthday parties, whatever. But if he thinks Karen's coming in with him, does he grab her glass and his? He's a back pocket kind of guy. He put his phone in his back pocket when he gets out. He grabs the second glass. He's got the 2 glasses. The phone rings or something. He puts the other glass with the second glass, right? He puts them here like this, pulls the phone out of his pocket, starts walking backwards, looking at the phone, locks it back up, puts it back in his pocket. I don't know. Well, I'll tell you, that's a New England thing. It's definitely a Boston thing. People do it all the time here. They're like, listen, I paid when last call gets called at bars here. The problem is like last call will get called. And then like 5 minutes later, like they're literally pushing you out the door. Like they're like forcing you out without letting you finish your drink that you just ordered for last call. Like, so at this point, people are either sucking them down or leaving them, which is a waste of money for how expensive drinks are nowadays. If you go to a bar or a pub or anything like that. So some people, especially in Boston, will be like, you know what, if you're going to push us out that quickly without letting us finish it, we're friggin' bringing it with us. And that's what will happen is they put it in their jacket underneath their arm. Out they go. Like, I've seen it a billion times. And I don't know if it's just like it feels like it's a more of a New England or a Boston thing that it doesn't usually happen other places, because I've seen it a million times here. I'll tell you that firsthand. Like, let's pray that it isn't. I just don't see a mistrial happening this time for sure. I just don't see it. I foresee guilty on something, if not everything, Exactly. If there was 2 glasses, that helps the Commonwealth, not the defense, like, exactly. Even if they don't match, Proctor didn't plant a glass. If there's 2 glasses, there's 2 glasses. Like, I did not know that you could just easily get her VIN number. That was a good look. Okay, so CF McCarthy's. Like, well, exactly. There were definitely parts missing. I think about it. If some of it fell into the bumper, that car had definitely moved. And so some of it obviously came off of that bumper at some point, like in all the time that it was moved. So clearly only some pieces remained. That's very clear, Well, we know that he never went in the house because his phone data shows that he never went in the house. And that phone temperature battery goes lower and lower until they find him after 6. And then it starts going back up again when someone actually moves John. So we know that it wouldn't have moved at all. Oh, sorry guys. I heard my phone go off, but I'm not seeing where it went off. I have so many notifications. I can't even see what the most recent thing was that I'm looking. I mean, listen, if I'm the Commonwealth, I'm doing it until it's done, but I just don't see that happening here, unfortunately. Yes, Karen had the one with the straw in it. I think it's when she left, she had it under a coat. I mean, maybe she brought it in too. I don't know. But I know that that's usually how we do to leave is you put it sort of on it. And they showed the video of her with them still with the glass. It's CF McCarthy's walking out the door. So like normally you just sort of tuck it under your arm and go out. John did. He left the waterfall with a glass, the very last place that they were at. And so that's the thing. If they left CF McCarthy's with the glass that Karen had with the straw in it, because John gets beers, there's no straw in that. They found the straw at 34 Fairview. They found that straw there. So that would stand to reason there was 2 glasses. We can only speculate, but that's what the evidence points to, that there was 2 glasses. I don't know. Because they found Karen's straw. So it looks like even if she took it from CF McCarthy, she didn't bring it into Waterfall because it's still they'd still find it with a straw. So, I mean, I don't know. Could he have been carrying 2? He could have. Did he? We'll probably never know. you know? But we do know they found the straw. So if he was carrying a glass, it wasn't his, it was Karen's. I do think that the 3 prongs have been proven at this point, and that the text stream data is pretty much showing exactly what happened. And it's a snapshot in time with John's phone data. You know, it just is. Like, well, if it was one glass, it was hers because the straw that they found on scene, you know? No, you can see that she takes a glass from CF McCarthy's. You got to watch the whole video. Like, what if any does the defend? But whether John had two when he got out of the car is the question. Could he have? Yeah. Did he? We probably will never know. Probably never. But we do know that the straw was found, so it had to have been Karen's glass if it was a glass, the one that she took from CF McCarthy's because it had the black straw in it. I don't, in my opinion, the strongest witnesses that they had, and I'll say had, because they ruined this with their nonsense, was Arca. And that is going to be a nightmare for them. Dr. Russell, we know, is a complete nightmare. I don't know why any competent defense attorney would ever put that lady back on the stand. I wouldn't. Richard Green is just as bad, in my opinion. Then you have the Arca guys, and then Garrett Wing. I don't see strong in any of those witnesses. Arca was their strongest. And even Arca said John absolutely could have been clipped by that car, fell back and hit his head. Dr. Rentschler said that in the first trial. The problem is now they said that they completely deleted 100 messages and used Signal. Like, there is going to be a robust cross examination. And I think in that case, Judge Canoni knows that she can't just, handcuff Hank the way she's been trying to do recently, because there's a lot that he has a right to ask when it comes to that. And she has already said she is going to allow it. She has to allow it. So, you know what I mean? Yeah, I think he's right, Andrea, that like they didn't make it clear enough that like the physical match doesn't really matter. It's made of the same components. Like, just because you can't piece it all back together doesn't mean it's not pieces of the same glass. It just means that they couldn't like take it like puzzle pieces and put it back together. I'm sure there were plenty of pieces of that glass that got dropped in the snow, pushed by plows, fell off as she was driving, fell off as it was being towed. Whatever remained on the bumper remained on the bumper. They were never going to be able to put that thing back together because glass smashes into such little pieces, fragments of pieces. Like, they were never going to be able to put that thing back together. So I think you're right. I don't think it was made clear enough. I think most people picked up on it, but will the jury is it clear enough to the jury that it still could be a match to the glass, but it just physically couldn't be put together? Like, you know what I mean? Well, that's his big thing, is trying to confuse, right? Confuse them by being like, well, it's not a match, right? Right? It's not a match, right? But that's why Hank came back in and was like, tried to like differentiate. You know what I mean? Like, we can go back and watch that part and see, like what exactly he said to see if it was clear enough, Yeah, she has sensors for the blind spots. It's 360 degrees. Let's see. Hold on. I'm going to pull up hold on a second. Oop. Okay. Open this up. Let's see. Distance. Sensors, warnings. Let's do this one. Hold on. I'm going to try to open it, but I gotta. Open. Someone, I'm gonna. Let's see if it'll open it with this real quick. God dang it. Why? Just why? I don't want to open with that. I just wanted to open. Obnoxious. Yeah. Blah, blah, blah. Just open. Oh my God. Now this is being ridiculous. Come on, computer. Ugh, I don't want to. It wants me to like register to open this. I can't. I'm not doing that. Like, let me see if I can just pull one of these other ones up real quick. Okay. All right. So let's see. Pull it up for you guys here. This here. Put this here. Share screen. Blah, 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 blah. All right. So once again, let me move this over here real quick so I can have it up on my screen here. And I can see you guys at the same time. All right. Let me see if I can blow it up a little. All right. Oop. All right. No, it's not. It doesn't want to stay. So display, it says when the sensors detect an obstacle. Hold on, let me pull that other thing down so you guys can see better because it's got that in the way. Here we go. Oh, God dang it. Hold on. Pull these things off the screen so that you guys can see better. Let's see. Ooh, freak, that's interesting. I wonder if you can make that clearer, to hear it. The psychologist compared the FKR to sports team supporters. They don't care. Whatever happens, they want their team to win. They want to be part of something and hate the other team. It is the same thing here. You are right. And if they obtained video, a picture of what camera showed that night would be for a recon expert. I mean, if they obtained video of what the camera know, they would show us. And I heard them say that the video didn't trigger, lane locks. That's interesting. I've never heard of that. But again, those are like what new cars do, like it is that's a great explanation, Alba. I love that. Like it is like sports teams and politics. Hi, Potluck. They really do. Like data does not lie, Bella. You are right. Like, well, yeah, they like to think that they have secret knowledge, except they don't. They have what they're being fed by the queen of lying. Like, she left the CF McCarthy's with a glass. She left the CF McCarthy's with a glass, and he left the waterfall with a glass. Yes, exactly. She tucked it into her jacket. They showed the video of it when she was leaving CF McCarthy's. Your car stole your key. Oh, well, that's not good. So I would suggest trying to wiggle your, drive, reverse. Like sometimes that sort of gets stuck in the in-between. And if you like wiggle it and make sure it's one way or the other, sometimes that will release the key. Sometimes with cars, that's what happens. The key will not come out. If it's not, or if make sure your emergency brake, take the emergency brake off and try that and then put it back on. Like there are a number of ways where the key will get stuck. Those are two of that I know of that will release the key. Sorry, I want to get down to these bottom of these comments here. Roberta Glass is very worried that this innocence fraud campaign may cause a hung jury or let Karen walk. I am not so worried anymore. The first trial, I thought they would find her guilty, but I'm not worried this trial. I'll tell you that much. I do think they will find her guilty. She's kind of already proved herself two of the things, and I believe the third. But other people could argue that they haven't proven fully the third. I think the accident reconstructionist would. We don't know. We don't know the exact number of witnesses that the state has left or how many they'll use. The state has 50 plus witnesses left, but they're not going to use 50 plus witnesses. I believe there's maybe, if I had to guess, 4 or 5, maybe. That depends on if if Hank uses all of them or not, you know? You know what I mean? Like, he was drinking beer. Yes. I mean, to be fair, I know plenty of people have taken their glass with them. It's because they paid for the drink and they're being ushered out the door, but I get it. Yeah, exactly. If you don't have all the pieces, you can't. But that was his job, right? Francesca was to confuse the jury. But I don't think they appreciate that at this point, because now I think that they know and they can tell exactly what the defense is doing. Like, poor Peggy. You know what? This is what Peggy thinks about them. Let's just throw that out there. This is what Peggy thinks about their bullshit talkie. Go Peggy. Go Peggy. That's what she thinks about their crap. That's for sure. Like, yeah, Ronnie, the juror, said that with the clips, he'd lean toward guilty now. And he was the one of the jurors on the first trial. Yeah. So, I mean, imagine what the jurors on there now think. Oh, Dr. Russell's going to be that's going to be the best day. That's going to be the best day. It's going to be the funniest day on my channel because it's been the funniest day thus far every time we cover Dr. Russell. Like, you know, I wonder if they put them into context, because clearly, Ian, we know, right? We know what it's going to look like in context. We've seen most of it already. And the in context, because all they can do is play longer versions of the clips that Hank played. It doesn't make her look any better. I would argue it makes her look worse. So, you know, and I don't think the judge is going to let them play every single clip either. So, you know, we were supposed to hear from Ring last week. I feel like he might have like reworked that because of the day off and all of the delays. Maybe Hank reworked it with the guy so that either he comes this upcoming week, last Tuesday or Wednesday, or maybe they're not doing him at all. I don't know. But we were supposed to hear from him the week of the 15th. So, but there's nothing that they can do to put them into more context that's going to make Karen look good. That's for sure. Like, oh, don't forget about her. You're working on the project? Good. I'm not letting this go. It's not happening. I refuse to accept, BS answers from companies where they're not being held accountable. Sorry, but you guys have a legal, a legal obligation to certain things, and you cannot just ignore them. That's not the way it works. No. And I can't wait for Hank to do Dr. Russell and Green and Arca, you know? She said the largest of those pieces was the size of a grain of rice, and the rest were much smaller. I have faith that jurors will understand how tiny those fragments were. Oh, 100%. Anybody knows how small rice is, especially if they've put their phone in rice before, because it, like, hit water or something, I can bet the defense won't call Green. They might not even call Mrs. Dogbite. They will probably only call Arca dudes and the neuropathologist. If they only call Arca and the neuropathologist, I don't know how they keep going with the Dogbite theory. I feel like they have to call Dr. Russell, I feel like they have to. Thank you, Scorpio Moon Girl. We do have super chats and super stickers now, but, since you weren't here, I will say it again. The best way to support the channel is still the ways we have already. YouTube takes a cut of all of those, and that money doesn't come to me for an entire month, and you have to hit $100 before. So if I don't hit $100 before the 21st of next month, I will not get this until I hit $100. I won't get it until the next month. They pay out one time a month. And so the best option to still support the channel are the options we already had, because that's the most direct, and there's no cut taken out of that other than a little bit from PayPal and the taxes that I pay on it. But other than that, it doesn't get a 30, 40, 50, 60% cut like YouTube does. And I don't wait a month to get it, which is what helps the channel run, is the stuff that I get now, not a month from now, So, I mean, some people, that's what they prefer. That's their preferred method, and that's totally fine. But I just want everybody to know, like, the best bang for your buck, where it goes, Yeah, I'm flailing a tech, I was trying to do a thing with the stuff that she sent me here. So we're going to go over a little bit this. Yeah, me feeling attacked. Well, I'm glad you feel better, Anna. I'm glad. We can't have you not at full health. You know what I mean? The defense said they needed 5 days. Yeah, I think it was a week. And last time they said they were going to take a week, but it was only 3 days. I think at least ARCA will take at least a day, if not a day and a half. So I think Hank's convinced that he can do Russell in less than half a day, probably. I think he might be able to pull it off in a couple hours doing Russell, and Richard Green will be much quicker. I think he's like maybe an hour, for Hank an hour. I don't know how much obviously defense is going to take depending on who's doing it, unless he takes forever. But I think you could do it in 5 days with those witnesses. 5 or less, you know. Yes, thank you. Yes, a ring expert was supposed to testify. I think early days and days off Bev have screwed up the day's witnesses. I do think that Hank sort of knew we were going to have these long like gap, and I think he wanted to keep some of these experts until after that long gap. I think it was smart to have Hanley be like the last bit of that, so that when you start fresh again, you start with experts that are going to give a little bit of a punch to it. So I feel like, and also remember, they tried to squeeze the brain surgeon in because he does brain surgeries. He didn't have time to be there for 3 days. You know what I mean? So I think Hank sort of had to rework what he had already planned out due to like this 5-day gap we're about to have. I think he wanted it after that gap for certain experts. And I think that was probably a very smart move, if you ask me. Yeah, McNasty's, you know, the place it's right next to. Like, well, that's what the defense is going to try to say between 12:25 and 12:30, which doesn't even make sense. Karen would have been right there then the entire time. Yeah. Like that's what screws them, you know? That narrows it down a bit to she hit him with her car or it was planted. I don't hear this stated enough. Yeah, I mean, it does narrow it. That's for damn sure. Like, and I don't think like with them saying 12:25 or 12:30, like it leaves any room. Either Karen's right there when it happens, or she hit him. Those are the options for 12:25 to 12:30, and we know that he was hit, I think, at 12:32. So it has 360 cameras, but we were told that the cameras didn't catch anything. It didn't trigger. It didn't trigger because it's a human, right? Like, and they explained this in the last trial that like it didn't trigger because a car, like the force of a car is what usually triggers like the airbags to go off, the camera to go off. But because it's a person, it doesn't have enough oomph, basically, unfortunately, to set off a triggering event to set those cameras off or the airbags to deploy. That's what they explained, at least in the first trial. So I don't know, of course, if we'll hear that from the accident reconstructionist, which I'm assuming that's what we'll hear from. Yeah, that was part of it, that the airbags didn't deploy because it wasn't a car and it was like a person, you know? Like that's what they said at least the first time in the first trial. Let's see. Sorry guys, my phone was going off. I'm trying to figure out from where. I don't know. I don't see anything. I always want to make sure that I'm not forgetting to say thank you to anybody if something comes through on Venmo or Cash App. So that's why every time it like zzz, I have to check. Elbow agreed the taillight debris on his orange shirt and hoodie with pieces of threads. It's damning evidence of collision. I agree. So this thing here that we're looking at, right? It says display. When the sensors detect an obstacle, a graphic is shown on the multi-information display and the remote touchscreen, depending on the position and distance of the obstacle. 1 is the front corner sensor operation of Karen's car. 2 is the front center sensor operation. 3 is the rear rear corner sensor operation. And 4 is the rear center sensor operation. And so I don't know if you guys can see that, but in the front, on the right and left side says 1 and 1, and then 2 in the middle. And in the back, it's 3 and 3, and then 4 in the middle. You know, let me try to skip down here to the bottom of these comments. I don't want to miss anything important, but I will never get to the bottom. I would, you know. They can't risk putting weak witnesses on the stand, but I think they're going to do it anyway. Matt Timpanik said that ARCA guys will present very ridiculous tests and opinions because they're stuck with the defense theory. That's exactly right. So they're going to just put a bunch of ridiculous crap out there that's easily going to be debunked. They don't have a choice but to put some of these people on the stand at this point, even though they're bad. Like, they have no choice. I am also expecting a guilty, even if it's on the lesser included. I'm expecting guilties. That's for sure, you know? Mentioning of square dance reminded me that we did country dancing. Country dancing and line dancing. It's got to show ring, in my opinion, proves consciousness of guilt if she deleted them. I do think we need to hear from the, ring expert, but hey, I don't know if they reworked it. We were supposed to see them last week. I don't know. No, we don't judge here. Don't worry. And listen, line dancing is fun. You should try it. If you haven't, I will totally take you. It's fun. It is fun. It is fun. The military two-step. Karen took a glass. Yes. So what I'm saying is there was 2 glasses that were taken. Each person took one from somewhere. You are right. It was Karen that took the one from CF McCarthy's, and then John took the one from the waterfall. The military two-step. I do hope that we hear from Ring next week. Yes, they can only play the same clip. They can play it longer, but I still think it screws her. You know what I mean? They're just repeating the same things to the jury, and she looks like an a-hole saying it. So, I'll go with you. Tell your hubby I'll stand in for him. Karen Siebert says, do you think they might not call Wolf for ARCA? Nope. They're going to call them both. Guaranteed. Wolf is the one that says the most for the defense. Dr. Rentschler is more careful about what he says to not look like an idiot. So I think they're absolutely calling both still. They absolutely have to. If they want to help Karen's case, they have to call both of them. And the cross is going to be amazing. So Ring don't have deleted footage. Yeah, as far as I know, they don't either. It's gone once it's gone. But maybe they can tell us how they know it's gone. Or did they see something on John's phone that shows it was deleted at a certain time and the only person who would have had access? Maybe that's what we'll hear. I don't really know. But I do want to hear from him and see what the Ring expert says. You know what I mean? But it's a very smart speculation. Francesca's right. So I'm guessing it's next week if we're going to hear them. I want to be Dr. Wolf when I grow up. The brain surgeon, Dr. Wolf? Which Dr. Wolf? Wolf should have his own TV series. Oh, school milk, gross. In the little cartons. So gross. You were a milk monitor? That's friggin' hilarious. That's what I want to know, is if they know the time of deletion or anything like that. You know what I mean? If there's a notification in the system that it was deleted at a certain time. That's what I want to know. If they can tell us that, of course. Yeah, we call him the real one. Hashtag the real Dr. Wolf. Or hashtag the real wolf. Yeah, Proctor. That's all they want to talk about is Proctor. And then poor Chief Berkowitz, an actor from the 60s or so. I mean, he was, the real Dr. Wolf was very straightforward, and he was not playing games. He was yeah, I'm not a forensic, pathologist. I'm a brain surgeon. It just made him sound smarter. He was no, you're right. I'm not a forensic pathologist. I'm a brain surgeon, which to me says to the jury, yeah, I'm definitely not them, but I'm much smarter than they are, and I know what the hell I'm talking about. That's what it makes it sound like. So I think that backfired on the defense. But again, Alessi's never done a trial, and it shows hard. My mom went to Catholic school. Kneeling, sitting, standing, kneeling, sitting, standing, standing, sitting, kneeling. Believe me, I get it. They made me go to church when I was little. First communion and all, Oh, gotta love it. I'm totally in. I am totally in. I love those things. Paint nights, do those wine paint nights, paintballing. I'm in. Do all the fun things. I want to have a bring your own kiddie pool party in my yard for adults. Everybody gets their own ridiculous kiddie pool. I kid you not. And then at night, you dump them out of water after hanging out in them in the day. You dump them out, and then you put pillows in them, and you play music or movies on a projection screen, and everybody's in their own little kiddie pool. It's a blast. And I want to do it. I want to do it. Sounds like a wicked, awesome, fun thing. I also want to have a Twisted Tragedies get together. I want to have a get together. I think it would be so much fun to plan something like that. And I know some of you are within driving distance. Like I know Scorpio's within driving distance. That would be fun. But we also want to include those of you that are not here, who are not in the country. We got to figure out something where we can all meet or do something because it's so much fun. Do me a favor and let me go conspiracize. I have to pee. I drank this coffee and I got to pee. So give me a minute while I go conspiracize in the bathroom. Do me a favor and hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button if you can. I would very, very much appreciate it. This is still the best way to donate to the channel because in the short term, the channel can't wait a month. We still have to keep it running in the meantime. So in the short term, this is still the best way. Venmo, Cash App, PayPal. And then we have the link for anybody who wants to do it credit or debit. We have Revolut for those of you who are out of country. It works really well. And there are no, Trisha says there's no fees, which is nice. It probably comes on my end when I exchange it into US dollars from whatever you use, which is totally fine with me. So give me 1 minute. I am going to conspiracize in the bathroom because I have to pee. Be right back. Sorry. I had to go to the bathroom. Real bad. All right. So I have over here real quick. Hold on. Nope, that's not it. That one. Oh crap! Don't do that. Why is it on me? I want that one. I want this one. 18 hours ago. I want to get to the part where the brain surgeon comes on because that was real, like to the point, bing, bang, boom. And anybody watching that should know, like, this guy meant business. Like, and it was a good direct and recross. Like, we definitely should watch it. It was quick. It wasn't a crazy amount of time, but it was super important. And this guy was like to the point. Like, he was like right there to the point. This is where she kind of yells at the jurors too a little bit. That's kind of an important part to watch for a second too. All right, let me blow this up and get it on the screen real quick for us. Get this off. All right. That one. Present this one. Okay.
Please be seated.
Ron, that was in the first trial. We're talking about the second trial where another ring expert's going to testify that might have different information.
All right, so jurors, I still have a couple of questions for you. Were you able to follow the instructions and refrain from doing any independent research or investigation.
And that's false that Karen never had access to
And we've
the ring.
discussed the other two
Did.
questions, but I do need to stress for you that it's very,
Can't
very
only
important
be accessed.
that no one discuss this case.
Let me just make that clear, by the way. It cannot only be accessed by John's phone, and that is not what was said in the first trial at all. And Karen did have access to it on John's home computer. Okay. So to say she never had access to it, that would be a false statement. We did watch trial one. I streamed the entire trial. Ring representatives testified that they couldn't testify to deletion, but things have been updated since then, just like the Burla software was updated. So things that were unreadable before are now readable now. There is a reason that they're going to call a Ring expert, and it's not just for shits and giggles. So we don't know what they're going to say, but what we do know is to say that Karen never had access to Ring would just be a bold-faced lie. She absolutely had access to it when she came back to the house on John's home computer. So, and they could not only be accessed by John's phone. Nobody has ever said that they could only be accessed by John's phone. They can be accessed by John's phone. He had it on his phone. Most people do have the Ring app on their phone, but you also can access it via computer like any other person can on their Ring cams. So that is false that it was only accessed by John's phone. That's not what was said, nor is that a true statement at all. Just throwing that out there because misinformation hurts people. Misinformation is not something that I like to be thrown around lightly on my channel. So there was an expert that testified in the first trial, but I don't think it was from Ring themselves, as far as I understood it. And even if it was, I remember exactly what they said, and no one is saying that was only accessed on John's phone. We know that's not true at all. It always be accessed on his computer as well. But there was only 4 people that had access to it, including the children, or the oldest one, John and Karen. John certainly didn't delete it. The kids certainly didn't. So who else would have deleted it? Gee, I don't know.
Don't let anyone talk to you about the case, no comments about the case. You've seen how hard the lawyers have worked to pull this case together for you, and everybody's given it so much time. So please, let's make sure that we follow that. That means each other. So with that, I know we're late getting started. We're going to take an abbreviated lunch today, only 30 minutes, and abbreviated breaks. So no morning break. We're going to start now and go till 1. All right, Mr. Brennan, and we're taking a witness out of order. I apologize. We've got a witness here. Sometimes we take witnesses out of order. Ms. Hanley will be back later for the rest of her testimony, but we've got a witness here that we'll call out of order. Thank you. Mr. Brennan, thanks.
Thank you, Your Honor. The Commonwealth calls Dr. Wolf.
Raise your right hand, please.
You solemnly swear the evidence of the court and jury in the case now and hearing to the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Thank you.
Good morning, doctor.
Good morning.
All right, whenever you're ready, Mr. Brennan.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Could you please introduce yourself to the jury, spell your first name and last name for the court reporter?
Sure. My first name is Isaac, A-I-Z-I-K. It's phonetic. Last name is Wolf, W-O-L-F, like the real thing.
What do you do for a living?
I'm a brain surgeon.
Is there a special part of medicine that you study?
Well, my main interest in brain surgery is brain tumors and trigeminal neuralgia. But I also specialize in movement disorders. I do pediatrics and adults.
Are you an active working neurosurgeon?
I am a very active working neurosurgeon. I get up every day at 4:30 in the morning to go to work, 5 days a week. I take call 300 days out of 365 days a year.
Did you work yesterday?
Yes, I did.
What type of work did you do yesterday?
I did 2 brain surgeries yesterday.
Are you working tomorrow?
I have 4 surgeries scheduled for tomorrow, which is why this is a little bit delayed for me, and I have 4 on Friday.
And what type of surgeries do you have tomorrow and Friday?
I have 3 brain tumors, 1 trigeminal neuralgia, and on Friday I have 4 patients with movement disorders.
You're here today as a witness. How much of your practice, how much percent of your income is from being a consultant or a witness for a case?
Probably less than 1%. I don't do this for a living.
I want you to take us through some of your education and background. Could you share with us where you went to medical school and where you graduated from?
I went to Yale Medical School. I graduated summa cum laude.
Is that in 1981 that you graduated?
Correct.
After
Cum laude
medical school,
means
did you
with
begin
honors.
internships in medical residency?
In Latin.
I did an internship at Hennepin County Medical Center, which is a trauma center in Minneapolis. I then did 5 years of neurosurgical residency at the University of Minnesota.
And was that in Minnesota?
Correct, in Minneapolis.
Is there something about that hospital that has some specialty?
It was one of the #1 training centers for chairmen in neurosurgery at the time.
Did you, in your residency and in your fellowships, do any work or study in pathology?
During your residency as a neurosurgical resident, you do 6 months in neurology, you do 3 months of neuroradiology, you do 3 months in pathology, which includes autopsies on brains. And then you do rotations through a trauma center as a chief resident, through a VA hospital, and then ultimately at the university hospital for elective cases. We also do 6 months of pediatric neurosurgical residency.
Did you do a fellowship at New York University?
Yeah, at NYU, I did a fellowship before I went to the University of Maryland as a professor in brain transplantation. The interest was in using cells to create dopamine centers in rat brains with the concept of Parkinson's being curable with transplantation.
I'd like you to take us through some of your faculty positions, and so you can share with us some of the progression of your training and experience.
He's
Did
like,
you begin
"Yep,
at the University of
and
Maryland
I
Hospital?
love it.
Yes. In 1987, the University of Maryland recruited me to start their epilepsy surgical program and
That's what it
skull-based
was.
program.
Renal. Thank
And
you,
then
Alba.
part of our responsibilities as assistant professors was to cover shock trauma.
Could you explain for us
Yep.
what shock
Jessica
trauma
Hyde.
means and
I remember that.
whether the University of Maryland Hospital was a shock trauma hospital?
So the University of Maryland
I know.
and shock trauma
Love
were
it.
actually 2 separate entities when I started. A man named Cowley had basically developed the concept of the golden hour. So prior to Dr. Cowley, most trauma was just taken locally. That meant as a community hospital, if a patient had been in a motor vehicle accident, they needed an orthopedic surgeon, they had to call the orthopedic surgeon in, could take 15 minutes, could take 3 hours. The same thing for a vascular surgeon, the same thing for a neurosurgeon. Dr. Cowley came up with the concept that you needed a center that was
do?
strictly for trauma, and every attending had to be in the hospital 24/7. So that was the concept of shock trauma back in the 80s. When I got there, we were transitioning from a very small center to a 125-bed hospital that was completely committed to trauma.
In that experience, in the years you worked there, did you have an opportunity to treat a number of
Alba.
people with brain injuries?
Exactly.
We treated well over 100 patients a year, a month, basically, with brain injuries
Imagine saying he's
at
not
shock
qualified.
trauma, along with spinal cord injuries.
How stupid you sound.
Did you perform surgeries in different types of brain trauma and brain injuries?
Yes.
It's raining here today. It's
After
miserable.
Maryland in 1993, did you move
Miserable.
to Miami Neuroscience Center?
Yes. In 1993, I left academics. I went into private practice in Miami, and I started the Miami Neuroscience Center. We were the first private community hospital to have what's called the Gamma Knife. So we were the 13th in the country, but the only one that was non-university based. And gamma knife radiosurgery is using radiation to operate on the brain.
Are you presently the director of the Miami Neuroscience Center at Larkin Hospital?
Yes, I am.
Do you conduct a number of surgeries a year there?
Correct. So I spent 19 years at Doctors Hospital. Then we moved to Larkin Hospital 13 years ago, developing the new radiosurgical unit called ZAP, and also another
Because Karen said
fancy
so.
machine called high frequency ultrasound to treat the movement disorders.
You've noted that you have a number of professional memberships. I don't want to go through all of them. I'd like to point out a few. Are you a professional member of the American Association of Neurological Surgeons?
Yes,
Are you a member or fellow
Yeah,
American
I am.
College of Surgeons?
yes,
Here I am.
Are you a member of North American Skull-Based Society?
yes,
And is that brain related?
I hate
it
brain.
is.
Are you
It's
a member of
cold
the Society for
today.
Neuro-Oncology?
Yes,
I
Are
still
you a
want that
member of
grilled
over
cheese.
or at least 34
Bacon.
different professional
bad.
memberships?
yes,
In your career, have you engaged in research?
yes,
Has that research focused or centered on brain injury?
yes, it has.
Is some of your
Right.
research as a principal investigator for THAM treatment of brain tissue, acidosis, and severely head injured patients?
Yes,
Did that research and as a principal investigator help
ridiculous.
you in your diagnosis and treatment of brain
You are
injuries?
right.
it actually was in the treatment of severe head injuries, patients who were unconscious.
Every time somebody uses the word twisted, literally, it gives me a double take because of my name. And most people like, make it TT so that when they're talking to me, but some people shorten it to just twisted. And so every time someone uses the word twisted, I stop because I think they're talking to, even when I read it online, I'll see someone say like that twisted sense of, and I'm like, twist me? Oh, wait, it's in a different context. It's not me. But now my brain automatically does that. Just had to throw that little tidbit in there. My bad. I'll shut up now.
Concept of trying to relieve the increased intracranial pressure that occurs from the injury and to increase blood flow, thereby increasing oxygen to the brain.
Did you also serve as principal investigator for research for the PEG, SOD, and severe head injury?
Here too.
Yes,
Could you describe that very briefly?
basically the same. One of the biggest problems in brain injury is the fact that blood flow ceases to exist as the brain swells
It
up.
might be at the end of this.
And so one of the things we try to do is preserve the neurons by making sure that they have enough oxygen and blood flow to them. All these are agents that try to assist that.
I loved
I
that.
won't go through
And he
all of
said
your
that
research
wife.
and principal investigator roles, but I want to ask you about one more.
No good.
And that is, did you serve as principal investigator relative to the IRB protocol for brain pathology?
Yes.
And what did that do? What was that about?
It was about looking at what happens after a brain injury to blood vessels and tissue as the intracranial pressure increases in the brain.
Hit that like button, guys. Please.
Have you been part of publications of a number of different books?
Yes.
I won't list parts of all 16 books, but can I point out a few?
Sure.
Were you the author of a book chapter regarding head injury, difficult medical management?
Yes.
Were you the author of a book chapter on pediatric neurosurgical emergencies?
Yes.
Were you the author of a book chapter on complications of head injuries in adults?
Yes.
Were you an author of a
Yes.
book chapter, imaging of craniocerebral trauma?
Yes.
Were you an author of a book chapter in emergency room assessment of the head injury patient?
Yes.
Were you the author of a book chapter, intracranial injuries?
Yes.
I won't list or ask you about the other book chapters that you've been the author of. Have you been involved in journal articles?
Yes.
I'd like to ask you just about a few of the 70 journal articles that you have published.
Your Honor, objection.
So go ahead and ask the question without a comment, please.
Were you an author of a journal article, intracranial pressure in non-traumatic ischemia and hypoxic cerebral insults?
Yes.
Were you the author of a journal article, post-traumatic cerebral infarction?
Yes.
Were you
I
the
love my
author
grilled cheese and
of
bacon.
the
Still thinking
journal Fractures of the Clivus?
Yes,
Could you tell me a little bit about that paper?
we used thin cut CT scans to identify fractures of the skull base. Prior to CT scans, it was very difficult to actually identify radiologically a skull fracture with plain x-rays. The idea was to see if we could identify them more clearly. And so we classified them and delineated them in the paper and discussed the outcomes that were relative to those type of injuries.
In the last journal article I'll ask you about, were you the author of a journal article regarding acute traumatic midbrain hemorrhage?
Yes,
Right.
Were you the presenter in a number of presentations regarding head injury and brain injury?
yes,
Exactly, James.
You've listed 93. I'll ask you just about a few. Were you a presenter in fractures of the clivus, clinical and radiographic features?
yes.
Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Clivus,
Thank you. Were you the presenter in acute head injury?
yes,
Exactly. If there's no
And a
Presentations,
separate
but then
presentation, fractures of the
video?
clivus, classifications and
shows
clinical
it was gone.
features?
Deleted.
yes,
Thank you, Abby.
Do you lecture?
yes,
Do you have peer-reviewed publications?
yes. That was one of them.
Thank you. And are you heavily involved in clinical research?
Right now, my research is more based on radiosurgical techniques and
No,
outcomes.
membership won't be active until tomorrow, Anna.
Over
tomorrow.
your career
Just
and your
24
study
hours.
and your clinical experience, have you treated different types of brain injuries?
Yes,
Told me at least.
Are you familiar with a number of different types of brain injuries?
yes, we still treat them.
Were you asked to
I
review
agree.
materials relative to this case?
Yes,
And do you recall the materials that you reviewed?
yes.
Could you share with us some of the materials that you reviewed?
I reviewed the chief medical examiner's assessment of the case.
Ooh, thank you.
I reviewed pictures that I'm assuming the medical examiner took of the autopsy. And I reviewed the report from the forensic pathologist.
And before I ask you about your review of specific materials and your opinions in this case, is there a benefit to your clinical experience in studying brain injuries as opposed to the
That's
experience you had as a
interesting.
fellow simply with pathology?
That they never testified.
Well, I think that for the jury to understand is a clinician understands the process from the time the injury occurs till the patient either leaves the hospital or dies. And it's a process. And as a neurosurgeon, I have a tremendous amount of experience with that, if that's what you're asking me.
Yes. And so, doctor, you reviewed a number of items of information in this case. Did you have an opportunity to review photographs of a laceration to Mr. John O'Keefe's head?
Yes, I did.
With the court's permission, I'm going to ask to display Exhibit 160.
Okay.
Dr. Wolf, I'm going to ask you to take a look at this photograph. Have you seen this photograph before?
Yes.
I want you to explain to us what you're seeing here and take us through the process of your observations.
Well, what we're seeing is an approximate 1.5 inch laceration with bridging tissue and contusions and abrasions. To us, that's just a classic blunt trauma injury. There's nothing other than just vanilla about it. This is what happens when soft tissue hits a solid ground. The skin tears apart a bit, but not through and through. As you can see, there's the bridging. You can see all the bruising or contusions. and just the tear, a little bit serrated along the edges.
Thank you. If you could take that down.
Punctate, right? Little punctate
Dr.
in
Wolf, as
your
a result
nose.
of that wound, did you have a chance to further look at
So funny.
information provided to you about the actual inside the skull of Mr. John O'Keefe?
Yes, it was the pictures that I was reviewing showed a non-depressed skull fracture extending linearly through the clivus and into the frontal fossa of Mr. O'Keefe over the orbital roofs. He had fractures along the temporal fossa as well. So it was a classic linear basilar skull fracture.
Is basal skull fracture a
It's
characterization?
basically the base of your skull is what it encompasses. So the opening at the very bottom is what we call the foramen magnum that connects your brainstem to your spinal cord. And then as your brainstem goes up, it goes into the different skull areas that, talk about what we call the cerebral cortexes, your occipital lobe, your temporal lobes over here, and then your frontal lobes.
So can you walk us through what happens when someone incurs this type of injury to the back of the head, how it happens, and what are the next steps for a person?
So what happens is, you fall backwards, and the linear acceleration starts to take you back down with gravity. The skull hits the ground. It gets, in layman's terms, smashed a little bit.
Oh, geez.
And then the brain moves forward as a response to that. And it moves forward because you have cerebral spinal fluid and because you have the deceleration, acceleration again. As it does, your skull, if you were to look inside your skull, it's like mini mountains along your temporal bones and your frontal bones. So the brain is being thrust forward at a fairly good speed, and it's getting bruised. You can think of it as if you took a hammer to your thumb. It's really turning black and blue. Those are the contusions. And so the temporal poles and the frontal poles are getting contusions because of that. At the same time, you have a space called the subarachnoid space. And I'm sure they're going to hear about the subarachnoid hemorrhage. And that space is it's very clear, thin membrane that covers all of your brain and all of your spinal cord. And normally, you really don't see it unless you open up the brain and you're operating. But when you either have a traumatic event like this, where little vessels are pulling apart underneath that membrane, or, for example, the classic, when you have an aneurysm burst, the space that the aneurysm bleeds to is the subarachnoid space.
Well,
the other thing that occurs in trauma like this is you can get a subdural. So the dura is the membrane that covers the whole brain and also right down your spinal canal. And it's a very thin membrane that looks like very thin leather. And in that space between the brain and the dura can be a lot of veins that go towards a central vein called the sagittal sinus. And if those tear, you have a venous hemorrhage from, which is not arterial, so it's not quick, but that can develop into a subdural as well. If you tear a portion of your brain as well, and you get a little arterial bleeds, that could create a much faster subdural hematoma. And so when you look at the pathology, the autopsy of his brain, you're looking at a subarachnoid hemorrhage, you're looking at a subdural hemorrhage, neither one of them which was huge or would have required surgery, as well as the contusions that I described in his frontal poles, in his temporal poles, and then the original bang, which was in the occipital area. These are all findings that you would see on a CT scan and an MRI scan.
I love you.
Without requiring an autopsy if he had made it to the emergency room.
I want to take a step back at the beginning. you said that this laceration on the back of his head was caused by a fall. Could this be caused by a fall landing on hard ground?
You should be very
Yes,
proud.
I mean, like I said, it's the classic blunt trauma laceration.
Do you have an opinion to a reasonable degree of medical certainty whether this injury, the laceration and the basal fracture, was caused by Mr. O'Keefe falling backwards on the ground?
My opinion is that that's what caused his whole injury.
That's it.
The pattern of the laceration, do you have an opinion whether that is consistent with hitting the
Gross.
cold, hard ground?
Objection, Your Honor. Can we have sidebar on that, please?
So I'm sustaining the objection, so no sidebar.
She says no for the sidebar, gives in 3 minutes
Do you have an
later.
opinion, doctor, about whether that laceration on the back of his head
I always note your
was
sarcasm.
caused by a particular movement?
Well, the only way he could get this kind of an injury was to fall backwards, hit the back of his head, and then the resulting, energy forces going into his brain and to his base of his skull.
Would that type of laceration require Mr. O'Keefe to have hit a line type or ridge type object?
A ridge type of object?
Yes.
No, I mean, like I said, the tearing of the skin in that fashion, you could look it up, would be just a classic blunt trauma injury.
Is there anything about that injury that would suggest to you it had to have been something sharp or ridge-like to cause?
No, Jezebel.
Objection, Your Honor. Again, request kindly hit sidebar on this.
All right, we'll come to that.
Thank you.
Which is so utterly ridiculous. Like she said no, then she gave in. It's just so freaking stupid. And this is what the families think. Of course, Peggy's not there right now. I wouldn't want to be either to listen to this, but we're going to insert her here to what I think she would look like for this friggin' sidebar. Because that's exactly it. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is utterly ridiculous. Like, yeah, I don't know I mean, even if you had been though, who cares? I don't care who you guys subscribe to or don't subscribe to. Like, that's irrelevant to who you guys are here. You know what I mean? Like, here, you're Twisted's family. You are the family of Twisted Tragedies. I don't care who you guys follow, watch, subscribe to. Like, there are people I don't definitely watch anymore and think are pieces of human garbage that I probably have forgotten to unsubscribe to be honest. Like, I just don't have time for that. Like, that doesn't say anything about anybody who you subscribe to or who you don't. Some people subscribe to see what crazy shit someone's going to say next. You know what I mean? Like, I have gotten to know you guys as people. And I think that's important. I don't give a shit who you follow or don't follow. This isn't the cult. You can follow whoever you want. You can donate to whoever you want. You can not follow whoever you want. Like, I'm super happy that we got monetization back, but that doesn't necessarily help my channel. I mean, it might a little when it comes to like memberships or getting paid your like 8 cents per 1,000 views or something. But it doesn't really help the channel that much because super stickers and super chats and memberships, like all that, like YouTube takes a cut of that and you don't get it for an entire month. Like, I've already missed the cutoff for this month. So I won't see anything in the next month that gets super chatted or super stickered until next month. And you have to hit $100 before you ever. So if I don't hit 100 before next month, I won't get it till the month after. It's only one time a month. It's not twice a month, which it should be. It's just one time a month. And so it doesn't really help the channel a ton in the short term. It does in the long term because then that money comes in one bulk amount, right? When it does come. But in the short term, like week to week, sort of running week to week, they take a cut of that. They take some of that, like, and a big cut of it nonetheless. So the PayPal, the Cash App, the Venmo, those are like really where the channel needs to get the donations in order to stay, on our path forward.
So as we were discussing, Dr. Wolf, you said this is a classic fall backwards. Is there anything about the pattern of that laceration that would suggest that there was a ridge or a line type edge that caused that wound?
That people
Not necessarily.
or when they
And have you seen, in your experience, similar
PPDs that
types of
hit?
lacerations
Oof.
and breaks caused by falling on hard ground?
Yes, you can see that both in the occipital region. You can see it if patients fall on the, forehead. The skin tears, they're still bridging, and then they get bruises.
Some of your work was in
Yeah,
Minnesota.
yours.
Correct.
Was
I
it
love
a
you.
colder part of Minnesota?
So it don't matter.
Very cold part of Minnesota.
Did you-
It's Minneapolis.
I'm
Woo.
sorry. Did you often see these type of injuries there?
Oh yeah, so brilliant.
Yes, I mean, we took care of a trauma center, Hennepin County. Very frequently, patients that are drunk
I get you.
fall down on ice sidewalks and could develop, lacerations in their head, epidurals,
And
which are blood clots
Something they
above the
suggested.
dura because they fracture a bone in the temporal area and they can get a bleed from a fractured artery. And it happens when people are shoveling snow and have a heart attack and fall backwards. So there are various ways that people fall, resulting in head injuries and lacerations to their forehead or to different areas of their head.
Can somebody suffer this type of injury simply by falling backwards?
I think so.
Absolutely.
We do.
You
We'll
had
have them
taken us through
tomorrow.
the process of falling backwards and then talked about what happens to the brain. Can I ask you a couple detailed questions about that?
Sure.
When you explained that the brain upon impact then shifts forward and hits the front of the skull, is there a
I agree with you.
medical term for that process?
Well, the medical term is a coup contre coup
You gotta
injury.
suck it up when you're suffering.
So
You
the
gotta
coup is when you
make it
first
through,
hit.
you
In
know?
this case, it was the back of the head, as
Yeah, they take
summarized by
up
laceration in
to
the back of the head,
60% of things like
and the
membership.
contusions that the pathologist and the ME found in the back of the brain. And then the brain shifts forward, and as it's traveling at a certain velocity, because it's thrust forward on the floor of the base of the skull, it's getting bumped, and it's getting, again, you can think of it as a hammer hitting a thumb. It's getting black and blue in the areas that are sharpest.
Are there symptoms that result of the process coup
Great
contre coup?
songs.
It's, this is clinically, it varies. I mean, you can go from anywhere from a simple concussion
Right. Pure
where
goodness.
you sort of are unaware of what happened, but you're still awake, you're confused, all the way to, ultimately being in a coma.
Can this type of injury, the coup contre coup, and what you see in the review of your files, could this type of injury happen from an attack by a weapon, like a bat or a hammer?
Well, he did not have a depressed skull fracture.
And here it is.
So any focal hit like that would more likely than not have caused a depressed skull fracture.
Right.
Blunt trauma, the way he had, the assumption, would cause the coup contre coup without a depressed skull fracture.
When the coup contre coup process happens with the skull fracture, does anything happen to the front of the skull?
Well, you're asking me, does the rest, I mean, the forces,
Isn't it amazing, Anna?
depending on how hard they are, can generate fracture lines all the way to the anterior fossa.
That one's funny.
So
I got to learn how to make those.
you can
AI.
have fractures along the lateral temporal area. You can have fractures along the orbital roof. The orbital roof is very thin. And so those forces can go all the way to that area.
Did you see any sign of orbital fractures in Mr. O'Keefe?
Yes, he had both the ME
Interesting.
and the pictures taken,
It's good info.
and the neuropathologist mentioned fractures of the orbital roof.
Do you have an opinion to a reasonable degree of medical certainty how those fractures occurred?
From the trauma.
Could you just explain a little bit how that would happen?
Well, as he fell backwards and he struck his head, it was clearly at a very high speed generated by the gravity. the bone, depending on the quality of his bone, the density, then generated forces. There's a certain amount of lateral give, and then you get a linear force going forward. It drives all the way up the clivus and forward into the anterior fossa where his orbital roots lay. And this is why people like this get what they call raccoon's eyes.
There's the raccoon's eyes, y'all.
Do you have an opinion whether the brain itself could have caused the orbital fractures?
No, the brain is a soft substance.
Me too.
You could literally put your finger through the
Me
brain.
too, Francesca. Me too. I love.
We often operate on people fully awake. The brain couldn't possibly cause a fracture. The fracture was caused by the forces generated through that clivus, that middle bone in the middle of his base of the skull.
Do you have an opinion to a reasonable degree of medical certainty whether or not the brain in any way could have caused these orbital fractures?
The answer is absolutely not.
In your study of the records and photographs, and in your experience treating these types of injuries, do you have an opinion to a reasonable degree of medical certainty whether or not a person would remain conscious or would be immediately unconscious after the impact of the ground?
Well, it's impossible to know whether he became immediately unconscious, but his injuries were very substantial. And it's more probable than not that at some point he quickly became unconscious and was unable to do functional activities.
What does functional activities mean?
The ability to, get himself up and about would be one of the functional activities. The ability to call for help would be a very significant cortical function. And that's why I was talking about, that there's a variation on the theme from a simple concussion to a severe concussion like this.
If a person does not have functional abilities because they are rendered unconscious, does their body, could it still move?
Yes, this is the interesting thing about our brain. So the cortex, which is the top portion of your brain, can get separated from your brainstem functionally. And what happens then is that your body is not acting autonomically, meaning vegetative. So why does that happen? We think it's because as we were a caveman, and if a caveman became unconscious, as an animal came up to eat it, the animal would touch it. Well, you have these automatic movements. One of them is called decorticating, which is where you draw your arms like this and you throw your feet out. And then a worse neurological situation is when you decerebrate. Now you push your arms out along with your legs. And that would scare off an animal. So we think that over time, genetically, this is what happened to our brains in order to create these. But those kind of movements are not thought processes. In other words, your brain is not telling you, oh, you have pain, go ahead and decorticate or decerebrate. It's an automatic movement in response to pain.
Atypical movement.
I want you to take us back now to after the fall. Would Mr. O'Keefe, in your study and opinion, have died immediately?
No.
Can you share?
Yes, I'll tell it. There is very few things that you head injury where you would die, quote, immediately. So if I took a knife and stabbed you in the back of your neck right below your skull and I drove it through your brainstem, you would probably die immediately. If I shot you below your ear and went through and through below your ear and shot through your brainstem, you would die immediately. But traumatic head injuries, you would not die immediately. It's a process. And it's a process of a combination of things. Brain swelling, which takes a while to develop, decreased blood flow to your brain because you're getting swelling, and ultimately death of the brainstem that controls your heart and your breathing. And so this is why there is a whole big issue about brain death. When is someone brain dead? Because it's not instant and it can take a long time to be conceived. In these injuries that are very severe that we took care of, there was a high mortality rate. In the linear skull fractures, it was about 67%. But it took time for them to die. It could take days to weeks to months.
They're on machines.
And also, these people got to shock trauma.
Yep.
So it was a while, whether it was hours, before they were even starting to be taken care of. And yet they weren't dead yet. That's why I don't think it was immediate.
Was there any other observations you made about Mr. O'Keefe or his body that support your opinion that he didn't die immediately?
Well, the medical examiner took pictures of his periorbital area and diagnosed raccoon's eyes. So raccoon's eyes occur because there's leakage through the orbital fractures into the periorbital space. Normally, it takes about 24 to 48 hours to develop. It has been noted as early as 1 to 3 hours, which would make it not immediate.
Could we please have Exhibit 14?
Yeah, but a third of a chance is at least a chance, that injury, and I just,
Dr. Wolf, could you share with us what you see here in this
he's left
picture?
there by
So
himself.
right here, you can see the black and blue
They don't show us this.
that sort of configures
I don't want to see it anyway.
if he
I've
had
already
his
seen it.
eyes open, like what we describe as raccoon's eyes. Right? And that's not caused by direct trauma to his eyelids. It's caused by what I described as the basilar skull fracture, which went to the anterior fossa, which is right over the orbit here, inside with leakage of blood products into that periorbital area.
You mentioned that starts or takes at least 1 to 3 hours to begin.
Minimally, yes.
You take that down, please. If Mr. O'Keefe had been brought to a trauma center or emergency room, what would the process be in your experience?
Well, he would have been intubated if he wasn't intubated in the field. One of the first things
What the hell?
you need to do in a head injury is control the airway. Why? 2 reasons. One, you want to have enough oxygen going to the brain to feed it. And 2, you want to keep your carbon dioxide down because that causes increased intracranial pressure if it elevates. So you want to constrict the blood vessels a little bit. Then he would have had a CT scan immediately in order to assess whether he has a surgical head injury, meaning he needs to go to the operating room to evacuate something or not. During that process, he's obviously going to be getting medication to decrease the brain swelling. And from there, you make decisions based on his neurological function and what you're, capable of doing to, spare the brain from the rest of the injuries that will result. One of the things that occurs with contusions is a great medical term is they can blossom, which means they can get bigger. And if they get bigger, they might require surgical intervention to decrease the pressure as well as the volume of the blood that's destroying brain. And so you do serial CT scans in these patients over time, anywhere from every 6 to 12 hours to on a daily basis, depending on what the case-by-case production of blossoming is occurring.
You mentioned that about 2/3 of your patients who suffer this injury pass.
What we saw is that in the patients that suffered linear clavicle fractures, 2/3 of them ultimately went on to die, and 1/3 lived.
Is there commonality on how they pass?
One of the common reasons they passed is if they trapped a major vessel in one of the fractures, they would get a significant brainstem infarct, meaning a stroke, meaning lack of blood flow to a very significant portion of the brainstem. And so that was one of the causes of death that ultimately we understood. And then the others died from the increased intracranial pressure that drove the brainstem down through the foramen magnum.
Did you review any materials that talked about or identified Mr. O'Keefe's body temperature
Ugh, I
when
cry
he
so
was
much.
treated?
I have to shut my camera off sometimes.
As I recall, his core temperature was 80
80.
when he was
Yep.
found.
Right.
Is that significant in the process and development of his injury from the moment
Florida.
he fell and hit his head until
It's in Miami,
his
Florida
ultimate passing?
area.
Well, hypothermia, if you define hypothermia, it starts at 95 degrees. The
95.
core temperature is usually about 98, 98.6. 95 is very mild hypothermia.
I had to cry.
When you get to 82 degrees, you're in severe hypothermia. What happens when you're hypothermic, and I'm a neurosurgeon, but I can tell you that you get into multiple organ failure. Your heart starts to have problems. It can have arrhythmias. You're not breathing. And ultimately, at hypothermia, you also become unconscious and go into a coma-like state. Below 80 degrees, you're probably going to die. So all I can tell you, it wasn't helpful that he had a significant head injury and that he was then found hypothermic.
It's terrible. That's terrible.
Is it uncommon in your experience for people that suffer this injury to pass within 5 hours?
Well, none of the patients we treated died within 5 hours, but it also didn't mean that we didn't realize that they were going to be in a potentially vegetative state. When someone's hypothermic, you have to warm them up in order to establish a clinical status, meaning you can't declare someone dead with a temperature of 80. You have to warm them up slowly, appropriately, and then reevaluate where they are clinically.
I've asked you questions about whether you had an opinion about Mr. O'Keefe and when he died. I want to ask it in the form of a formal opinion. Do you have an opinion to a reasonable degree of medical certainty whether Mr. O'Keefe died immediately or within 15 minutes?
No, I don't think he died immediately. Neither the hypothermia nor this kind of head injury would kill you immediately in any clinical experience I have.
It would take time. This was so hard to listen to yesterday.
Dr. Wolf, thank you.
Here comes Alessi with his nonsense.
Let me have a moment, Your Honor.
Sure.
Thank you.
I have a moment to not ask questions because I don't know what I'm going to say. While he's taking a moment, do me a favor, guys, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We do have monetization back, so we do have super stickers and super chats, but the best way to support the channel still are these options in the short term. Of course, do it whatever way you want, but this is still the most direct option. Yeah, they warmed him before they pronounced, for sure. They usually do. In
May I, Your Honor?
Massachusetts,
Yes.
warm before they pronounce.
Morning, doctor. I don't think we've had the pleasure of meeting. Welcome.
Thank you.
Why would Hank use a
Sir,
pencil?
can you just describe,
Just saying.
you started to do it a little bit on direct, a typical day for you?
I wake up at 4:15 in the morning.
It's a weird question.
I go to my center. I set up patients
Makes his wife.
with frames for their either radiosurgical procedures or stereotactic craniotomies. I go home. I make cappuccino for my wife at 6 o'clock in the morning. And then I get back to work at 6:30 and move on. I have patients that I'm operating on, and I have patients that I'm seeing through the day.
What type of patients and what type of work? Just in a typical day. What are you doing? What type of patients? And
I don't know
where's-
why he would ask this. This is ridiculous.
It varies. I mean, I see patients with brain tumors. I see patients with hydrocephalus, which is water in their brain. I see pediatric brain tumors. I see subacute and chronic subdural hematomas, post-traumatic. I see patients with strokes that are being misdiagnosed.
Nope.
I see patients with cancer, metastatic disease. I used to see patients with cervical problems. I stopped doing that 2 years ago. I mean, I don't know what else you want me to tell you.
No, that's great. And
Yeah.
is that typical
He's
day,
like, I don't give a-
typical of the
what do you
type of
want?
days you've had for the past month, past few years? Is it generally, without specifics, is it generally?
Correct.
So none of your typical days, none of the past typical months have involved forensic pathology, have they? You haven't acted as a forensic pathologist in.
I am, if you could have asked that question, very straightforward. I am not a forensic pathologist. I'm a brain surgeon.
Right. And you don't perform autopsies, correct, sir? You're a brain surgeon.
Correct. In other words, I see more brains than the forensic pathologist.
Right. And is it correct to
Boom.
say that the brains that you see are of living people?
Correct.
Okay. So what I'd like to do
Never
is
seen more brains,
to
Bob. Sorry. Such
go
a weird
to,
question that he asked this.
a different part of the head than was discussed, but sticking with the deceit.
Excuse me, I didn't hear the last
I'm
word.
sorry, with the topic is going to be Mr. O'Keefe, the deceit in this
Okay.
matter, sir.
Okay. That did not go to whatever he just
You
said.
testified about raccoon eyes. The medical term for that, sir, is ecchymosis, right?
Correct.
Ecchymosis.
And ecchymosis, raccoon eyes, does not cause a laceration to form on an eyelid, does it?
No.
Cappuccino was like, oh, what a good.
Are you aware that Mr. O'Keefe had a laceration to the outside area of his right upper eyelid?
I am aware that the ME described that. Yes, sir.
Now,
Yeah, but he was out of his league for sure. JMS is right, completely out
could
of his
Your Honor, I'm going to, with Your Honor's permission, ask to publish what is already in evidence in a moment.
Okay.
Mr. Wolk,
right. Say it
What
again.
exhibit number, Mr. Alessi?
we're going to, 165, Your Honor?
Okay, go right ahead.
Thank you.
Right over his head.
Dr.
Exactly.
Wolf, have you seen this photo depiction
He's like, "What do I do?"
before today?
I believe I have.
Is it correct that injury
I didn't know what to
on the upper right eyelid is caused by the application of force directly to that area of the front of the head, again, namely the upper eyelid?
That's possible, yes.
Possible.
Is it more than possible? Is it probable that that injury was caused by the application of force directly to that area
He's
of
a
the front of
weirdo.
his head?
Well, an easy answer to that would be is that that's not part of the periorbital ecchymosis.
Thank you, sir. That was exactly going to be my next question. This injury is
I did not,
unrelated
but
to any of what you've been describing, the fall backwards, the force transfer inside the skull, the, as you described it, the dura, the cerebral spinal fluid, all
Talking
of
about
that
the audio.
dynamic that you so ably described on your direct examination. This injury has nothing to do with that, correct?
Correct.
I think he's the fall guy for this. Somebody who's never done a trial, you know, you throw him at doctors. So stupid. The doctor's like laughing. He's laughing at him. Like, guy, you have no idea what you're doing or what you're talking about him. Well, I'm sure they did. He's not going to, though. It's the audio, right? We enhanced it a little, listened to it a little. You can't really, you know, the problem is you can hear what you want.
Thank you for answering my questions, Dr. Wolf. A pleasure
That was it.
again. No more questions at this time.
That was literally it.
Any brief follow-up on that?
No, thank you.
All right, Dr. Wolf, we are all set, sir.
Even the judge was like, brief follow-up on that. And Hank's like, yeah, no, I'm not. Like, yeah, me and Freak talked about this before the show. Before I started the show this morning about the audio. We're going to try to see if we could probably isolate it and listen a little better. But that's the thing. You don't know if you can hear to die in the cold or if that's what you want to hear. So that's the problem. And probably why. And I have to think that, of course, Hank did all this, enhanced these, you know, audio. That would be, you know, it's something I definitely think Hank did was isolate it and try to, you know, up the volume on some of it. But the problem with that is you don't really know it's gonna come off as to the jury, what they hear and what they don't hear. And if you don't give them headphones to be able to isolate it enough to hear it, it's almost pointless because they could in their own brains hear something completely different. So it would be, you know, the John, where the F are you? That one, yeah. And was that you? Those ones we've definitely gone over a lot. But I think there's a reason why Hank didn't bring it into the trial. And I think it's because it's not enough. Yeah, you hear what you want to hear 90% of the time. That's why I think it was a reason Hank didn't do it. You know what I mean? He does, right? He ran away. It's part of the audio in, like, from the clips and stuff, that if you sort of so I don't know how to explain this, I guess. So basically, if you take something that only you can hear the voice of, right, and you put it into like a computer software program, it will isolate just the sound, and it'll be almost like when you're at the hospital and there's like bumps up and down on the screen that you're alive. You know what I mean? Like, well, this sort of same thing does for tone of voice, where it goes up a little, down a little, up a little. So you'll see those sort of same little marks on the software, and it'll sort of, you can isolate where the talking starts and ends and sort of take out the background noise and try to enhance it so you can listen to just the voice and what it's saying. So for instance, this is the voicemail that Karen left while they were on the scene, the accidental voicemail that she left. And so if you take out the background noise and sort of just enhance the words being said, you might hear "to die in the cold" as Karen asking Jen to, or you might hear something else that you want to hear, because what Jen said is that that was asked of her when they were in the back of the cruiser, the cop car. And I believe the voicemail audio is actually from, I don't know, maybe Carrie's car. I'm not sure whose car it was. Maybe that was the cruiser for all we know. I'm not really sure. But I thought that was, as far as I understood, it was still Carrie's car where she had hopped out. And that's why the voicemail, because you can hear the 911 call. So that's where she, hopped out and left the phone in the car. And that's why I kept going, But for me, the problem with listening to stuff like that is exactly what me and Freak talked about earlier, which is you can hear what you want to hear and not what is actually being said. And I think that's probably part of why Hank did not bring it into the trial at all. Because then you leave it up to them hearing what they want to hear and not what actually is being said, because it's not clear enough. It is not clear enough for that to happen. Yeah, he was like, no, thank you. No, I don't want to let Alessi bury himself. Like, you know what I mean? Like you could hear whatever you want to hear. And that's part of the problem. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's probably why Hank never used it. Like, where was Karen Reed at when she said, John, is that you? And what time? That one was, oh God, I don't remember which one that was. You guys remember which one that was when we heard the is that you one? Right, play it backwards. You play it backwards, you can hear all sorts of stuff. Demonic. Art Bell used to love a bit of reverse speech. There are so many software programs where you can like isolate it and hear it. And you can also tell if someone has like tampered with it. The background noise will be different. And the clips will clip out, like it'll be different. The lines will start to like be completely different than what you would expect on that pattern was already sort of going at. And so you can clearly tell when someone has edited, and they use it for that as well. So I mean, I have to think that there's a reason Hank didn't use it. You know what I'm saying? Like Bill Clinton says forwards, I try to articulate my position as clearly as possible. Backwards, that becomes she's a fun girl. Like, yes, that's hilarious. Pro Tools. I only ever use the Pro Tools. We know you do, my friend. We know you do. 1250 something. Okay, that makes sense. That's the one where she tells like there's no nobody knows where you are, That's what I'm saying. I don't think it was necessary because it kind of just leaves it up to chance, like the more common sense people are going to be like, meh. Anyway, you don't want to confuse the jury. You want to give them the best evidence that you have without leaving anything to chance, like you don't want to, if someone in that jury hears, I something else that helps her, like that doesn't, you know what I'm saying? Like you're going to hear what you want to hear on some of those, And that's another thing. I try not to do any of the like audio isolating or anything because I have tinnitus and it hurts. Like even this, like streaming and doing all this, playing this stuff during court. Sometimes you guys notice I shut my camera off sometimes. Sometimes I have to get up from my seat. Like I have tinnitus at ringing in the ear. So some frequencies, and I don't know which, like why or how. I've asked the doctor this. They cannot answer me as to why or how. But some frequencies really bother me with the tinnitus, which is ringing in your ears. I have a ringing in this ear. That started after I got COVID, funny enough. And it just started one day and never stopped. And so I went and saw the ear, nose, and throat doctor to see if I had lost any hearing. They said I didn't lose any hearing, but that they couldn't tell me if the tinnitus was ever going to go away, why it came about. But they had seen a lot of patients who had COVID who all of a sudden got tinnitus. And then, of course, I got all of my other inflammation problems in my body, including myocarditis of the heart and a bunch of other stuff. But that's why sometimes I shut my camera off even during the trial, because it's uncomfortable. Not so much, I don't want to say painful. I mean, it is painful sometimes, but it's uncomfortable. So it's like makes you sort of cringe. It's that kind of like pain that sort of makes you cringe a little bit. So I sometimes have to get up and go out. There's a reason why I don't wear headphones anymore, because it doesn't help. It's almost worse sometimes. So, I do what I can. And I get up when I need to, so that A, the pain in my body. I'm not constantly sitting here because that hurts in itself. I have chronic pain, but then also the tinnitus starts to bother me a little bit. And also when I have to cry, because watching this yesterday was extremely difficult. And I totally get why Peggy wouldn't have wanted to be there. This was hard to listen to. The brain surgeon was hard to listen to because he essentially proved that like John did not die right away, that he was there for a long while. And that if he had gotten some medical attention, maybe he could have been saved. That was really hard to listen to. And at one point I had to shut my camera off, and then I turned it back on and still was crying like a baby because it's just really sad to listen to and to think about this being, you know, I've had plenty of loved ones that I've lost, and to think about him laying there by himself, like that was really, really hard. Like that was really, really hard. I can only imagine how hard it was, you know, for Peggy, which is why she probably didn't want to, you know, listen to that, you know? Oh, mine's bad too. It's obnoxious. I have to play things at night on the TV. Rain sounds. If you've never tried it, Anna, I'm telling you, because it interrupts your sleep, because it's all you could hear is ringing. I'm telling you, try it. Rain sounds at night on your TV while you're sleeping. They have black screen ones so that it's dark still. It will drown out the tinnitus enough for you to sleep at least a little bit. Even if you wake up a couple times, like it drowns it out enough for you to be able to sleep a little. So that's a good thing. Like that's a good thing. We have a donation. House of Biva. Thank you, House of Biva. Sends $10 and says, congratulations for the monetization. Thank you. I appreciate you. And I appreciate that you recognize that this is still the fastest and best way to support the channel is the opposite we already had. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. I love that. So Francesca's been doing some experimentation, you know what I mean? Which is freaking awesome. I love it, Francesca. I'm the same way. I like want to figure it out, right? Like, so she's been figuring out like if she deletes something on her Ring like camera, does the notification disappear? Does it still show up? When she clicked on it last time, it disappeared, even though it was still there and she could click on the notification, it disappeared because she had already deleted the video. So she said she just deleted, notification is still there, and she's gonna wait and see if it disappears on its own this time. I love this. Oh, thank you, Allie. Allie sends $10 and says, glad you are monetized. Thank you, Allie. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. We would, but we don't know who you are. You know, we're definitely a community that helps people out, but I don't know who you are. Abandonment while wounded. You know, that's the best way to put it. If you had to ask me, like, well, she definitely had access to the desktop computer. Like, that's 100% for sure. Like, so it's funny to me. Anybody claims that she couldn't have had access. She's the only person that had access and would have deleted it. To make the assertion that the police would have deleted things that would show her guilt is just absurd. Like it's absurd. Why would they delete her and Kerry? Because we know this one's missing, of her and Kerry and Jen looking at the taillight. That one's completely missing. Where's that video? Where's the video of her coming back from Fairview and coming to John's house? You know, like where? Like, I just don't see how you can argue that it would be the police that deleted it. What would they be deleting it for? It would help their case, not hurt their case. So why would you be deleting and also they deleted that, but they completely forgot to delete any other surveillance video from Sallyport or anything else. Like they didn't delete it because there's nothing they needed to delete. Like it's very clear that they just looked at the taillight, which again, people are like, oh, there they are over near the taillight, Buchanan and Proctor. That's their job. They're the police officers investigating. They're supposed to look at the damaged taillight. Like that's literally, hey, corrections. That is literally their job, is to literally make sure that they have the correct evidence and that they're roping it off like they did with the car. Okay. They did all that, right? So you have FKR over there screaming like, well, they're near the taillight. They're near it. They're police officers. It's their job to investigate the freaking crime, including the taillight. Including the taillight. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, they gave me the same thing. I barely take them. They don't really do much. I get Flexerol for it, but it also helps me sleep a little. But it doesn't really do. They also gave it to me for my fibromyalgia, and that it didn't work for that either, unfortunately. But I do probably. I mean, I don't know. Probably do have tight neck muscles, to be honest. But they check me all out, and they can't tell me why. Can't tell me when it'll go away, if it'll ever go away either. So that's fun. Like, yeah, that's the only thing. Like, I can't be like watching the outside feed of the outside door. That's all they show in the daily trial because it's federal courthouse. So they don't have cameras, which really bothers me. It really bothers me. Like, why can't we watch it? I want to watch it. I want to watch the trial, but because it's federal, they don't allow cameras in. They only allow like sketch artists. And it's so ridiculous to me at this point that they don't allow cameras in. Like, come on, man. Every other court allows them in. It's a public courthouse, federal or not, still a public courthouse, a public trial. We should be able to see what's going on. We should, you know? I was watching something this morning about the ex-NFL guy that ended up killing the chick's dad, the ex-wife or the wife's dad. That was on Law and Crime. And I was like, oh, that one's, you know, there's a couple of really interesting trials. Corey Richens. Now we got some news on the Kohlberger stuff, which is, hold on, let me get this off the screen real quick. Do me a favor while I'm pulling this up. Will you guys hit the like button if you already haven't? I'd appreciate that. Hit the subscribe button if you already haven't hit the subscribe button. Make sure that you send the video to a friend that they don't know we exist and they can find us. That'd be very helpful. We do have our monetization back. We have super chats and super stickers now. We won't have the memberships till tomorrow. It said it would take 24 hours because I just got the email last night that they turned it back on. So I guess that takes 24 hours. Either way, the best way to support the channel is still the regular routes that we already had. You know, they do take their own cut. YouTube does. So these are still the ways that are the best and fastest, and most of your money goes to the channel instead of to YouTube through these regular options, which are like Venmo, Cash App, PayPal. And then we have, you know, the link for anybody who wants to do credit or debit. And also you can use the super chat and super stickers. Some people prefer that. I just want you to know what's going where. So YouTube does take their cut. That's for sure. Revolut for those of you who are out of country. All right, let's see. We got this. All right. Let me, hold on. I'm trying to get a little bigger here. So this is the new article real quick on the Kohlberger stuff. So they played a Dateline episode that leaked out some stuff that wasn't leaked before because, as you guys know, there was a, hold on, move it over here. There was a gag order. There has been a gag order for 3 freaking years. Like, you know, that's a damn good question, corrections. And I would love to know the answer. How many bottles of Grey Goose do you think she bought yesterday? Or today, for that matter, with Alan Jackson? Do you think Alan Jackson flies back to LA? Or do you think his stuff is outside when he gets there? Anyone? So this clip here is like 4 minutes long on the Kohlberger stuff, but it's worth watching for a second. Cindy Lou Who. Yeah, that was I saw that one day. Hey, Monarch, how are you? I thought that was pretty funny. Right? How many Grey Goose bottles? How many? But I think it's worth a watch for the Kohlberger stuff real quick because this is like the new information on it, you know? Holly said she has a Ring camera, but don't pay the yearly subscription fee anymore. John, being a cop, would maybe pay his yearly subscription. If he did, then his videos are recoverable from the Ring server. Well, we know that they said that last year at least, Garino said that they couldn't recover anything that was deleted. that was one of the like sad parts. I do think it's interesting though that Ring usually only sends a letter and they're going to testify in this case, which they don't usually do. I find that to be pretty compelling. They have something to say, whatever it is, they have something that they want to say, right? Let's hope it's something important, you know? Right? Like, I feel like he's probably like, did he go home? Did he not go home? Should I stay or should I go now? Figure out whether he should go back to LA for the 5 days or stay put. You know, if he goes back, maybe he finds his stuff on a curb. I don't know. If I was his wife, I would. That's for sure. Let's see what they say here. Hello, can we unmute, please? Thanks. Appreciate it. Skip ad. Yeah, can we skip the ad?
The first place you have to look is the tainting of the pool, of the jury pool. I'm not an attorney, but you know, I'm a court qualified expert in forensics, and I've been involved in a lot of trials and a lot of cases over the years, and now teaching. And you know, and I gave that a bit of thought because, you know, keep in mind they moved this case out of Moscow. We've got a new judge. You know, it's not the same group of people. So you've tried to keep this thing as pristine as you possibly can by going to Ada County, Boise. And and look, to begin with, just because it happened, you know, over in Moscow doesn't mean the people in Boise haven't heard about it. Okay, they're going, you know, if they're asking voir dire, they're going to say, "Have you heard of this trial?" Of course. I mean, unless you're living under a rock, you've heard of this case, particularly in Idaho. But I have friends of mine in Great Britain that asked me about this case. So there's nowhere you can go now.
I agree with you,
You've got
Alicia.
the data with, you know, what you've.
Hold on,
In real
guys.
estate, everything
There's
is
an
images.
ad. Come on, man.
Adobe Acrobat AI Assistant helps me confidently
Get
manage.
ads.
Told by police releases. Now you've actually gone into the dense part of the case relative to these evidentiary findings that have turned up, and that's being introduced. If you think about like an injection into the body, that has literally been injected into the public conversation. That's why what they did, in my opinion, and again, I'm just a forensic scientist, but
I agree.
wasn't really reporting. It's more like meddling.
That's
at
what
this point in
sucks.
time.
Is if it's gone, it's
And I
gone.
think that's why the judge, the top of his head almost exploded, you know, when he,
Top of
and
the
rightly so, because he's walking a very fine line. It's almost like he's in a search.
So the judge in the Koberger case was kind of pissed off. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is a leak either from the prosecution, the defense team, law enforcement, something like that. All this information was on a Dateline episode. But as the prosecutor said, like, this is kind of what happens when you give a very vague gag order and it's been 3.5 years. You know, it takes that long to get this case to trial. Like, that's hilarious. Like, think she tosses AJ or Little? Like, Joe Scott lives 30 minutes from you. That's kind of cool. Majority of the info was already out there. We know the defense wanted a delay. I do think the defense wanted a delay in this because they were clear about the fact that they wanted to delay it for numerous reasons, one being autism, blah, 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 whatever. But I don't think they're going to get a delay, to be fair. I just don't think they're going to get one when it comes to this case. But they definitely did, and they could be playing dirty. That's very, very true, Elba. And Taylor's motion is quite absurd, and she seeks third party. Yeah, that it is absurd, and I don't think she's going to win that motion. Notification for the deleted video is still there, everyone. It doesn't auto disappear. Only if I click on the notification will it disappear. So they should have been able to note the time of them. Yeah, but that's only if they knew that that was going to happen. Imagine if they didn't know that it would disappear and they clicked on it to see if they could get the notification. Then when they clicked on it, it disappeared. Now they don't know the time. They didn't look. They just clicked on it to see if the information would come up. But now it's gone. At least one of them, they would have learned, or two of them, they would have learned that's what it does. Right? But I'm wondering if with the phone data, can it be recovered? The notifications. With the phone, could you recover the notifications of Ring and what they said? I feel like we might have heard that already, though, from one of the data experts, if that was the case, unless Ring is going to explain that those remain. I don't know. Very real possibility. Like, that's what we can hope for. Logs, logs, and that Ring's going to tell us about something, but obviously they have something to say. That's very clear. Yeah, alternative suspects, third party in the Kohlberger, which is so ridiculous. I mean, this is what we're dealing with. Like, I did not hear anything about if they caught that guy, the guy roaming around Canton that they put the alert out for. I didn't hear anything more about that yet. Like, I've been trying to keep an eye out. I haven't seen anything, haven't heard anything yet. No idea. Let's pray they don't click the notifications for the videos she deleted. Yeah, that'll be cool to look at, Francesca. Thank you. I love that we have a Discord where we can send this stuff and look at it. It's kind of cool. Now the defense are all playing the same game. Media support third-party culprit conspiracy theories. That's exactly what's happening. That is exactly what is happening. And you have to remember, if one defense team thinks it's going to work, many other defense teams are going to use it. It's, you know what I mean? It's going to be a jump on the bandwagon type thing. Like, not all Ring cams are set up outside. Some may be set up indoors, like kids' bedrooms. Ring doesn't want that liability, so they leave video storage, deletion, and archiving up to the end user. I mean, yeah, I totally agree on that. That could be smart. You could have them in private areas of your home that you don't want people looking at. And if you delete them, like, you don't want those recovered in your room where you change or something like that, or your children's rooms. Like, I 100% agree. But I do think there should be a log, not necessarily like the video itself, but like at least a log to show that it was deleted and at what time, and maybe even from what device or an IP address, something to show, like, especially when it comes to cases like this, that it was deleted. We don't necessarily need to see the video, but even that information would have helped. You know what I mean? When was it deleted? At what time? And from where? Was it from a cellular device? Was it from a desktop computer? Like, what, you know what I mean? That would have been really good information to have. Like, I love you guys. Ann Taylor, as far as I understand, is public defender's office, I think, conflicted out. And so Ann Taylor was hired. I think that's what happened. It's been a long while, so I'd have to refresh my memory on that one. Well, that's the thing. It's not the cloud. Ring has its own software. You know what I mean? Like, depending on what kind of phone you have, too. Waffle House. I still have yet I've driven down south a bunch of times, and I have still yet to stop at a Waffle House just to try it, just for shits and giggles. And I have yet to do so. Yeah, see, that's the weird thing. I want to see the time, So that's the thing. It only notes the time of the first unclicked notification. Interesting. DT as in drunken turkeys. Is that the one you mean, Alba? Drunken turkeys? This PD's a death qualified. Yeah. I think that's why, right? They needed a public defender that could take a death penalty case, as far as I understand it. I watched DT shows very into the Idaho 4 case, and he went through the request for continuance by Ann Taylor. I feel sick. I can't write here what she's asking. Well, everything she's asked for I thought was absurd in that. I read it and I'm like, what? Like, I just don't think she's going to get it, Depending on the clubs. I believe the Commonwealth has the Ring notifications from John's phone extraction. What we need from Ring is if anyone logged in on the 29th, you mean? And from what IP? Yeah. I agree. That's what I want to hear from the Ring experts. If the Ring experts can tell us that. You know what I mean? Like, we will never get the videos. You're right, Alba. We won't. But we only need to know if they were deleted and where and at what time. And maybe from which device. That would be helpful. And all of that could have shown that, like, Karen and her dad were upstairs at that time. Gee, I wonder where they went. All right, let's finish this real quick. It's only another 2 minutes.
Suite, and he's trying to keep it from being contaminated, and he has to maintain this. And this thing has gone on so long now. That the longer you go, progressively, it becomes more and more difficult because people form opinions. They put things out there that are not true, and you still have yet to pick a jury. And it's not like you want in Manhattan. You're talking about Ada County Idaho. You have a limited pool of potential jurors there. And so that's a risk. And I think that it's a real shame. It really is. Back to your question though, I kind of got off target.
Hi.
I don't know that it's going to impact the case.
You would think that, Holly.
As it is presented in court. However,
Ugh.
however this thing is adjudicated, and let's say the individual is found
Glad it
guilty,
saved you some money. That's good.
that's where the rub is. It's going to be, this is a solid bit relative to potential for appeal. That's where the real trouble is going to come in.
I don't agree with
I
that.
think. And, the judge has control in the courtroom about kind of, we're setting the guardrails about what we're going to talk about, what we're not going to talk about.
Things get leaked all the time.
Makes his job a bit more difficult, but
Not
he can
going to
set those
appeal.
parameters and he can keep people in check. All right.
Yeah, tell
But-
Judge Noni that.
If something is said just off the cuff in court, you never know. That's going to be entered into the record. It'll certainly be within earshot of the jury, and then the press is going to report it. This thing's going to be live streamed. It's not like it's going to be done in a vacuum, but it's afterwards. If in fact he is found guilty, his attorneys are going to have a field day with stuff like this.
Oh, please. No, they're not. They're not. I mean, I just disagree with that a little bit, because just because stuff leaked before trial, it doesn't really give you a huge way for appeal. That's for damn sure. The case was already highly publicized. There's a gag order, but if he's found guilty, I highly doubt they're going to get anything out of appeals, because things leaked ahead of time. That's life. That's the way it works. That's what the press is for. Like, sorry, not sorry. That's not really been successful in any, stuff. Like, oh, that's just, I mean, that's awful. Like, I went through foster care, and I will tell you, it is not fun. And most people are not there because they love the children. It's for a check, So, there's a lot of abuse in foster care, and that's tough to hear about. The son was already adopted at that point, which is even worse. Nobody listens to the kids when they try to tell you something's wrong. They just wave it off as like, oh, you're a troubled kid, or you're an adopted kid, or you're a kid in foster care. So like, you must be having a hard time, and you want to blame the adults. And that's what happens. And it gets waved off as though the kid's just angry or something, instead of actually listening. You would think that deletions from your phone would show up in the Celebrate distraction, that's what you would think. But I feel like, wouldn't we have heard about that already? I mean, obviously Ring has something to say. What is the question? You know what I'm saying? Like, oh yeah, the Reddit thread. I forgot about that. Yep. I mean, he was taking criminology. Like, you gotta give a little leeway there. Like, if she deleted the Ring, it could be to cover up that she went back to the scene, spotted him still there, and totally freaked. The crazy calls waking up his niece. I do think that, I mean, one of the first videos she clearly deleted was when she got back to the house. She got out of the car and she picked a piece of taillight up and dropped it into the snow. That video doesn't exist. It's gone. But she told Gretchen Voss about it, which was a big mistake, because she never talked about that again. And she never thought that would see the light of day until the judge got Gretchen Voss's notes and recorded stuff. So Hank got a hold of it. And so I knew, God, in 2024, like right after she did the interview. So, I mean, for me, I'm like, that didn't get deleted by the cops. Why would the cops delete something like that? She talks about it, and it's gone. So who has the means, the motive, and the ability to delete those Ring videos? And Karen is the only person that has the means, motive, opportunity, and reason to delete them. Not even the police have a reason to delete something that would make Karen look guilty. If you're trying to frame someone with their grand conspiracy theory, don't you think that they would have left that there? Common sense, yeah? Come on now. Like, oh, thank you, Francesca. And this is why I love that we have a Discord. We can look at this stuff. I absolutely love it. Thank you. That's what you would think, right? Like, and I'm dying to hear if Ring's going to talk about that. And then they're going to, I don't know, I don't know, but I can hope, like we can hope and we can speculate. That's all we can do at this point until, Tuesday. She said, see you next Tuesday. It was hilarious. Like, they did complain about him being creepy, but I do often wonder sometimes that people will, I figured, Maureen, I love it though. I love it. I'm Irish and Spanish. I'm a weird mix. Not everyone was bound by the gag order. You're right. Many people in the Dateline show are not bound by the gag order. That's of course, like you can't gag reporters. That's, you know what I mean? Like it's most info was already public, just BK photos, but maybe he published them himself. Well, also there was the video from like I don't know. They bitched about the video from a different camera footage that showed him going by King Road like a dozen or so times before the murders. If my alcohol level was as high as hers, I would have been sleeping the sleep of the past. Well, that's the thing. She wasn't, right? If she slept, she only slept for about an hour or two because her phone data shows that it was active and doing things for every other time except for about an hour or two. So, yeah, I'd probably have been puking with all that alcohol. Way too much. You know what I mean? I want to know, too. I want to know if she went back. I want to know if after she hit him, she took her seatbelt off and got out of the car. If she had her seatbelt on, right? I want to know quite a few things. We may never know, but we can dream that some of this stuff will be answered in court, Like we can dream. Like, yeah, so that's the thing. If Alan Jackson stated in opening statements they both got out of the car, so opening statements are not evidence, but still very weird. So I wonder if he was trying to get ahead of the Commonwealth showing that she got out of that car after she hit him. That would explain if she did pull a piece of glass out of his nose, then why it would gush blood. It would have been then, not at 6 a.m. Yeah, way back when, not now. You know what I mean? And also, back then we didn't have Ubers. We had to take cabs or have a designated driver. Thank you, Maureen. Yeah, I mean, it's awful. It's awful. It's awful. I lived it. It's awful. And they don't listen to the kids. They just don't listen, To be fair, I think guardian ad litems are a terrible idea. A lot of them, no offense, obviously, to your cousin, but a lot of them are very biased. And they don't actually do what the whole guardian ad litem thing was meant to do, which is meant to figure out what's best for the kid, not necessarily what the kid wants, but what's best for the kid. And oftentimes I see guardian ad litems get it completely wrong because they have a bias in it, who they like, who they don't like. And that's not how it's meant to work or how it was supposed to work. I'll tell you, mine completely failed me in so many ways. Thank you, Jesse. I love when you guys drop that kind of stuff. That means she's one of the good ones, which is rare. So that's a good thing. That's a good thing. There are some in the system. Not many, but there are some. I met one out of all the foster homes I was in. There was one that didn't do it for the money. They made really good money and they did do it for the kids. And I was glad for that to have been my very last one until I aged out. So that was the only one that I felt like home in all of the ones that I was in before. And I was in some pretty bad ones. So I think about the kids in there now, and I think about the fact that they allowed this lady, the very abusive one, to continue being a foster mother 10 years after me and other foster children complained and made a lot of noise about the abuse, and they still allowed her 10 years after the fact to have more foster kids. And that's horrifying to me. 10 more years of abuse for how many more kids? God only knows. It's awful. It's awful to think about, We need some real overhauls when it comes to that kind of stuff for kids. Yeah, no, I mean, it's not foster parents, and it's not a lot of money either when they do it, but a lot of them do it to have multiple children. They have multiple checks. Each kid is a check, and it's, more income to the family by just having another kid there that occupies a room. And that's really all it's about for some of them. The guardian ad litem's not so much for the money. I just think that their own personal biases sort of get in the way of what they're actually supposed to be doing a lot of the time, unfortunately. But there are so many you know, a lot. But it makes you, I mean, no one should have to go through any of it. But you gotta, you know, take your lemons and make lemonade, right? Like whatever I went through, horrific as it was, horrible as it was. And I mean, I could go on for days with trauma, but it makes you who you are when you get older, you know, like it gives you that sort of sympathy and empathy and insight into knowing what's going on so that you can help other people. And that's what you should be using it for, using it to help other people. Use that knowledge, use that passion to help other people not have to be in that situation, you know? Well, that's another thing. Like people seem to forget that female on male domestic violence exists. It doesn't get discussed enough. It really doesn't. Men are and can be abused in domestic violence situations and are all the time. All the time. The men don't come forward because people have made it so they feel less manly to come forward. They feel like, how could a woman abuse me? So they don't step forward. And when they do, and on the small occasions that they do, the police don't take them seriously. It makes them hide more when it happens to them. Women also can be abusive. 100%. To think that women can't be abusive to men, but men could be abusive to women is a farce. Of course. It works the opposite way around. We don't see a lot of it because we as a society is basically told men that you're less manly if you say that a woman has abused you. That's what we've taught them. That, hey, you know, suck it up, you're a man. And that's not correct. They're not getting the justice that they deserve or getting out of those. We have women that will stalk men. We have women who will use children as pawns. There are all sorts of ways that women abuse men, and it happens a lot. A lot. Karen's case is one of those cases. She used John and she manipulated him in the worst of ways, emotionally and mentally. And that sometimes can be worse than physical abuse. I'd rather be punched in the face over and over by my abuser than manipulated and emotionally and psychologically tortured every day. The stigma exists. And it's a huge, awful one. And John was a police officer. Imagine what he would have looked like going in there saying, yeah, I think this woman's abusing me. He probably didn't even recognize that it was DV because, once again, we sort of program men to say, well, how can a woman abuse me? I'm stronger, I'm bigger. And that can only happen the other way around, which is untrue. It's untrue. Like, there needs to be a bigger platform of people speaking about things that might be a little uncomfortable. I do it all the time. Maybe, you know, some people are going to be turned off by talking about uncomfortable things. That's life. But if we don't talk about it, it just gets hidden in the darkness. And then what happens? People get hurt in the darkness. Me being one of those people when I was a kid, believe me, I know. If you don't talk about these things aren't discussed. You don't find solutions. People get hurt. This was an avoidable situation. John didn't have to die. Karen clearly needs some serious psychological help. She was clearly emotionally and mentally manipulating him, using him as a pawn, trying to make him jealous, trying to make him do X, Y, or Z. Like, it's not okay. And the stigma that is attached to men being abused by women, they feel less like a man if they say something. And they shouldn't. They shouldn't. And if that means that they have to come to someone like me and I hold their hand to that police station, then so be it. I will make them understand. And that's part of the problem is there have been men that came forward and they went to the police and guess what happened? They were told basically nothing was going to happen and nobody was going to help them. And so they've learned to just stuff it, close their mouths, say nothing, and deal with it on their own. Because if the police aren't going to take it serious, then who do they turn to next? I say the best place to turn is to make sure that we have applicable laws that cover this and do not allow the police the discretion to say no in certain circumstances. We allow the police a lot of discretion in certain instances to do or not do things, to arrest or not arrest, to charge or not charge. And over the course of this case, specifically this case, I've learned that they abuse that discretion. Too many times, if they just don't want to deal with something, whether it be bad publicity or the optics of what it looks like, they don't do it. Even if it's hurting someone and a crime is being committed, they will turn their back. We cannot give them that level of discretion anymore because they're not using it appropriately. Sorry, not sorry. We need to put laws in place that they're not allowed to have that discretion anymore. If X, Y, or Z happens, you are to arrest or charge, period. No ifs, ands, or buts. We don't care what it looks like. We don't care what the optics are. We don't care if you think that your family is going to be harassed because you're the arresting officer. You got into this to do your job and to arrest people committing crimes. You don't get to just turn your back on certain crimes because the person involved in said crime is difficult or worth money or might make your life difficult as an officer. Then get out of being an officer or get out of being a DA or stop being a lawyer, because at that point in my book, you're being a coward. Because if I can stand here and Kevin and many of the other people that have and deal with the relentless harassment that we deal with and the relentless lies and the constant abuse from these people, then I don't have a goddamn idea what the police or the DAs or the lawyers think that they have as a goddamn excuse. They got into this as a job. This is what they wanted as a career. I cannot imagine have gone through law school and have turned someone away as a victim over and over by being like, oh, I don't want my family harassed if I'm your lawyer. Please don't tell anybody I'm your lawyer. I can't imagine being that much of a coward. And so I say to the lawyers and the DAs and the officers of the state of Massachusetts, grow up. Stop being a coward. Did you get into this to help people or help yourself? Because if you got into this to help people, maybe now would be the time to do that. When tons of people are being hurt and they're coming to you for help and you're doing nothing, or you're turning them away from your office because you don't want to deal with it. I say that's cowardly. You're being a coward. No one should have to be dealing with any of it. But when they turn to you for help, because that's who they're supposed to go to for help, and you turn them away because of selfish need about what it looks like, what the optics are, or you're too afraid, then why do you do what you do? I mean, yeah, probably for the money, but why did you get into it? What's the reason? There are too many people being hurt on a daily basis because of this case, and not enough is happening to protect them. And if you're in the job of protecting them, as are officers and DAs and lawyers even, then why the hell are you doing it? Why? It just doesn't make sense to me. Because you don't have an excuse. Many of us don't have that choice because there's that little voice inside your head. It's called your conscience. And it tells you to do the right thing, right? It tells you that you can't quit and that you can't stop no matter how hard it gets. Because if you do, misinformation will be spread and there will be no way to counter it. If you do, more people could get hurt. More people than have already been hurt. Why do you not have that same voice in your head? Or do you and you're ignoring it? I don't know. You tell me. Because in my book, I don't see an excuse for them. I just don't. I don't see an excuse on how the DA's office is and the officers and the lawyers want to refuse to do their job or use what they call discretion. Oftentimes the police will do something and say, oh, well, that's a civil matter. Even when it's not, when they just don't want to deal with it. And most people walk away saying, oh, they told me no. Like, what do I do? Well, in my book, you don't give up. You don't take no for an answer because a crime is a crime. You know, like when you go to every resource there is that's supposed to help you and nobody will, what then? The Attorney General's office, FBI, 50 plus lawyers, the DA, what then? The excuses are not excuses in my book. It's willful ignorance and it's a choice. They can't be allowed to have the discretion anymore. That's the bottom line. And I don't care how long it takes me. I eventually will get a law put on that book. I don't care if it takes me the next 20 years. That doesn't allow them that discretion anymore because they can't do what's right with it. You know? Well, the latest with him is cheats on his girlfriend. That's a shocker. And his girlfriend harasses one of his ex-friends who had a sexual relationship with him. And so that's going back and forth on Twitter. She should have just been left alone, you know. But imagine a flex being you hanging out with your boyfriend's ex-girlfriend and sending that picture to another girl that's been involved with him for years. Imagine that being your flex. That's not just misplaced, but it's one of those things that shows that you're insecure. You know? Well, that's the other thing. We know that more people will get hurt if something isn't done. You know, that we know that. And that's, I think, what drives many of us to continue when it comes to this case and the ones attached to it. Is that if we don't, other people are going to get hurt, and it's on my conscience. If I don't do everything that I can to stop it, everything that I can to prevent it, everything I can to combat the misinformation, then I feel I'm responsible if I didn't do my due diligence. I don't understand how the officers and DAs and, you know, attorney general's offices in the FBI, how they don't feel any sort of responsibility at all. You know what I mean? Like, it takes a long time to adjust and ignore it. A long time. You know, a long time. I think they are going to be sued into, aren't they already being sued into oblivion, Anna, as far as I know? Yeah, I think they are. Like, me too. I just block at this point. I don't have time for it. The hate, the anger, the misplaced. It's misplaced. I don't have time. I just don't. Like, no vacuum. No anxiety. You got a goose fraba, Anna. Oh, I remember that whole circus real well. I mean, think about how many YouTubers were all over that case. What that amounted to. You know? Like, well, that's the thing. It wasn't called DV back in the 70s or even the 80s. It was more just pushed under the rug and hidden. Especially when it comes to men. It's still been pushed under the rug and hidden. That men can't be abused is just an absurd assertion by women. And we see a classic case of DV in this case with Karen. It's classic. All the signs of it. It's there. Yet, not even John saw it, I don't think. I think he thought she was difficult, you know, but I don't think that he saw what it was, you know. It's unfortunate. All right, guys, we've been here 3 hours, 29 minutes. I'm going to wrap this up real quick. I think tomorrow, because we know there's no court tomorrow, obviously. So I think, I don't know what time works best for you guys, but I'm thinking either 9:30 or 10 tomorrow for another 2 or 3 hours. I have some other stuff we're going to go over. Yeah, that's exactly it, Holly. They were told, like, hey, you made your bed, now lie in it. That's exactly what you were told back then, you know? That's exactly how it happened back then. But I'm thinking 9:30, 10 tomorrow. Another 2 or 3 hour show. We do have our super stickers and super chats and monetization back, which is cool. But the best way still to, you know, help the channel is to do our regular options because we don't have, you know, YouTube taking their cut when it comes to that. And it's not once a month. We still got to run the show weekly. So, we have the options of Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, Revolut. If you donate when I'm not live anymore, I'll read it when we are live, which will be tomorrow morning, of course. And we do have super chats and super stickers back. Super thanks. I don't know what those are. That's like a new thing apparently. And our memberships should be on tomorrow. It says 24 hours. So I'm guessing sometime between this morning and tomorrow morning, they should be up and active. So there's 4 tiers. I let them do like the recommended, whatever the recommended amounts are is what I put recommended. I just let it do the YouTube recommended. So that's what it'll be on. We will be in Discord later. I definitely will be in Discord later. It's only 1 o'clock. So I have plenty of time today to sort of pop in there, and I will be in there. So I'll pop into Discord later. Thank you guys so much. Again, let me just go over these are our first super stickers and super chats since we got our monetization back this morning, which is really nice. Thank you, B Tim, again. Thank you, JMS. I appreciate you. Thank you, Sailboat Wolf. I tried not to show those ladies ever again. That was hilarious. Dr. Daddy Wolf, always. Thank you, my friend. Thank you, Jen. Thank you, Trisha. And thank you for recognizing that the other options are still the best ones to help the channel out in the short term. Thank you, Trisha. Thank you, Scorpio Moon Gal. I appreciate you. Obviously, thank you, Anna, who donated on PayPal. I appreciate you as well. House of Biva. And thank you, Allie. Thank you guys so much. I really, really appreciate you. I will see you guys probably between 9:30 and 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Share the video with friends. And make sure you guys do comments on the videos when it's not live anymore. That helps the algorithm sort of push us out to other people and grow our community. And that's what we want to do. So I'll see y'all at 9:30, 10-ish in the morning tomorrow. And in the meantime, you can email me, twistedtragedies3@gmail. All the options for donations are in the description of the video, as well as my email. And so you can get in touch with me there. Discord link, guys. Can we pop that into the chat for Corrections 101? Catching up MYB, but I will see you guys all in the morning. Corrections. We'll have Freak pop that in there for you before the ending of the outro ends. Don't you worry. And I will see you guys probably in Discord in a little bit. All right. I love your stinking faces. Bye.